Ever since my best friend got pregnant, she's been hitching a ride with me to and from work every day. For months later, she suddenly had a miscarriage in my car. I rushed her to the hospital in a panic. After examining her, the doctor shook his head in confusion. What miscarriage? The fetus stopped developing a long time ago. But before I could even finish listening, her husband threw me to the ground and knocked me out. My best friend insisted that she had a miscarriage because she drank the safflower tea I gave her. She even posted the video online of me handing her the water bottle in the car. It caused a huge uproar, and netizens branded me as the millennial poisonous friend. They cyberbullied me, doxed my personal information, and spread malicious rumors about my private life. I was fired from my job, disowned by my family. And finally, she took me to court. I became a public enemy, a pariah. Every time I stepped outside, I was surrounded and cursed at. In the end, overwhelmed and broken, I was hit by a car and died a tragic death in the street. When I woke up again, I was back at the class reunion, the day Lily first roped me into being her free chauffeur. The moment my eyes opened again, with a proud expression, Lily was telling everyone at the restaurant about the hardships of pregnancy. You have no idea. I've been craving sour things like crazy lately, this time. It's definitely a boy. I stared intently at her flat stomach. My body began to tremble uncontrollably in that instant. I pressed down hard on my trembling legs, my heart pounding with an urge to scream. I had been reborn. I was reborn on the very day of my reunion with my best friend and old classmates. Lily is 35 years old, has been married for a decade, and this is her 5th pregnancy. She lost all 4 of the previous pregnancies. Her husband is a Phoenix man, a man from a humble background who achieved success, and is extremely patriarchal, favoring sons over daughters. Over this issue of having a child, he has threatened to divorce her several times. That's why this child is so precious to Lily. But I knew for a fact, in my past life, the doctor had clearly said her pregnancy had stopped developing long ago. Being pregnant isn't so bad. But having to squeeze onto the subway every day for work, ugh. It's so stuffy and smelly. 1. It's a shame I don't have a driver's license, otherwise I could drive to and from work every day. Don't you think so, Chloe? Hearing my name, I snapped out of my thoughts and looked toward Lily. She stared at me with wide, expectant eyes, hoping I'd go along with what she was saying. Anyway, we live close by and work in the same building. I might as well give you a ride to work. That's right. That's exactly what I said in my past life. Little did I know. From that day on, I became her personal chauffeur, and that was just the start of it. In the end, I even lost my life over the whole mess. I touched my forehead, as if the bloody hole was still there. Doesn't your husband have a car? Get him to give you a lift. Seeing that I didn't pick up on her cue, Lily looked displeased and said bluntly, it's not even on his way, and we work in the same building. With all these years of friendship, surely he wouldn't refuse to do such a small favor, right? Lily clung to my arm, her tone a mix of wheedling and veiled threat. I subtly extracted my arm. Sorry about that. I've got a mortgage to pay, you know. I'm driving for a rideshare service during my commute now to make some extra money. Lily's expression stiffened slightly, her smile seeming forced. Since when did you start doing ride-sharing? The moment I ask for a lift, you suddenly have a side hustle. Did I do something to upset you? After all these years of friendship, you'd really make me squeeze onto the subway with a bunch of smelly men. What if someone harasses me? What if no one gives me a seat? Lily fired off a barrage of questions, her voice rising with each one, until all her classmates put down their chopsticks. Ever since school, I was known as the class pushover. I'd cover someone's cleaning duties, do their homework, or bring them breakfast, because I could never say no. People eventually stopped even asking for a favor, they just expected it. Chloe, it's right on my way. Why are you making excuses? Exactly. It's not that far from your place to the office. It's silly to nickel and dime over such a small thing. Seeing the mocking looks from my classmates, my resolve only grew stronger. Fine, I can give you a ride every day, but you'll have to get up at 6 a.m., have breakfast ready at your place, and we'll leave after I eat. Get up at 6. Are you out of your mind? I always have breakfast at home. But your place is 5 kilometers away. If I pick you up, I won't have time to eat, and in the evening, I have to drop you off first, so you're on the hook for dinner too, I said with a sarcastic tone. After all I do for you, you can't even make me breakfast. Lily shot me a look and said, let's be real, you just don't want me in your car. Our classmate Harry has had a crush on Lily since they were kids. Even now, married with children, he still talks to her in that sickeningly sweet way. Chloe, since when did you become so mercenary? Lily is pregnant, you know, can't you just cut her some slack? I pointed at the car keys Harry had left on the table. Your neighborhood is right next to Lily's, isn't it? In that case, why don't you drive her to and from work every day? Harry looked deflated. He gave Lily an awkward smile and fell silent. It's easy to be generous with other people's money, isn't it, Vicky? Did you move to Shuanfu Street too? What a coincidence. You're on the same street as Lily, maybe you could give her a ride. Vicky fell silent too, hearing me start to lash out indiscriminately. The others quickly lowered their heads and pretended to be engrossed in their meal. Lily was fuming and couldn't eat another bite. I ignored her and kept happily eating from my bowl. In my past life, I drove her to and from work every day, but Lily was such a handful. In the mornings, she'd dawdle endlessly, spending half an hour just trying on clothes. After work was even worse, she'd always have me take her to the supermarket or the mall. In the end, she even demanded that I take time off work to drive her to her prenatal appointments. In my past life, I blame my own weakness. I never learned how to say no. On top of that, I knew she had suffered 4 miscarriages before, and this pregnancy was a hard one, so, wherever I could accommodate her, I did my best to do so. And just like that, she had me on a pedestal every time she needed to go somewhere. She'd call me for a ride. That all changed the day I had a thermos of hot water in my car. Lily got thirsty out of the blue and asked me for water. Without a second thought, I handed her my own bottle, but I never could have imagined it was this very pot of lukewarm water that ended up being the death of me. After the video went viral, I faced a massive online backlash. Is this a toxic friend? Can't stand seeing her friend pregnant, so she deliberately made her drink it. Damn, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. That woman deserves to die. Her friend had 4 miscarriages. After finally having her own little baby, it died at the hands of the person she trusted most. You vile woman, go to hell. You should rot in the underworld to keep that baby company. Every single comment online is like a knife to my heart. Later, someone posted my home address in the comments section. Then, people started throwing feces at my door, spray painting it, and even making death threats. When I returned to work, everyone was pointing fingers and whispering about me. In the end, my boss fired me on grounds of moral turpitude. Lily took me to court, filing a lawsuit against me. In the courtroom, she wept bitterly. She accused me of cruelty and malice. My child was innocent. He never even got a chance to see this world. In the end, I was ordered to pay an astronomical sum in damages. I had no choice but to sell my house and car to scrape together over 3 million yuan for Lily. When I went back to find the doctor who had treated Lily, he had been bribed by Lily and changed his story, claiming she had indeed miscarried because she drank safflower tea. Just like that, I was plunged into despair. I wandered the streets in a daze, only to be hounded to death by a mob of online trolls. Given a second chance at life, I will absolutely not repeat the mistakes of my past and walk down that same road to ruin. The class reunion ended on a sour note. Lily never did manage to catch a ride in the end. I thought that was the end of the matter. What happened next completely blindsided me. Lily clearly had no intention of letting me off the hook. She was up to her old tricks again. 2. My office is on the 19th floor, while Lily's company is on the 16th. We used to have lunch together in the cafeteria every day. The difference was, I always brought my own lunch. After work at noon, Lily asked me to grab lunch in the cafeteria as usual. Ugh, seriously, the smell of this food is making me nauseous. Lily craned her neck to peek into my lunchbox. Let's see what delicious things you made today. Wow, chicken with shiitake mushrooms, and braised beef too. Let me have a taste. What Lily called a taste was her polishing off my entire lunchbox in just a few bites. This is so good, Lily said, smacking her lips. How about you make a little extra every day and bring me a portion too? Sure, I can do that. I'm pretty particular about ingredients. I only buy organic vegetables and get my meat from high-end grocers. My monthly food budget runs about $300-500. Since we're such good friends, you can just give me $3,000. Lily put down her chopsticks and stared at my lunchbox in disbelief. What are you eating? Gold. That's so expensive. Forget it. I'm not as delicate as you are. I can't afford that. After the meal, she started complaining again. Young people these days have no manners. No one offered me a seat on the subway. My back is killing me from standing the whole way. She's only just pregnant, with just the slightest bump. Even a psychic couldn't tell she's expecting. Chloe, I have a prenatal checkup tomorrow. Can you come with me? Shouldn't your husband be the one going to that? Why are you asking me? I poked at the last bits of food in my lunchbox and said irritably. Lily's eyes darted around. He's just busy, you know. He's been tied up at the office these past few days. I must have been blind in my past life to have ever become best friends with someone like her. So your husband is busy, and I'm just supposed to be as idle as a dung beetle, rolling around your little ball of crap all day. Oh, come on, look at you. You won't even help with such a small thing. Some friend you are. Lily shrieked at the top of her lungs, instantly drawing everyone's attention. I was about to snap back at her when it suddenly hit me. If I kept refusing her, who knows what other schemes she'd cook up to harm me. In our past life, after her own pregnancy ended, she sold me out for a payout, leading to my death. Who knows, in this lifetime, she might just be pushed to desperate measures. Sure, I'll go with you. But my car's restricted tomorrow, so let's take the subway. Oh, a driving restriction. I looked up at the sky in exasperation. Of course, they just wanted a free ride. Lily finally settled on a time with me, and we agreed to take the subway together to the maternity hospital the next day. During the weekday morning rush hour, the subway was packed, with everyone crammed in like sardines. Lily craned her neck, her eyes fixed intently on the empty seats further inside the carriage. After a few stops, we successfully pushed our way to the front, right by the seats, but it's rush hour. It's a struggle just to stand, so how could there possibly be an empty seat? Lily glanced at the priority seating for the elderly, disabled, and pregnant. A tough-looking guy was sitting there. Finally, her gaze settled on a girl wearing a JK-style school uniform skirt. Hey, give me your seat. The girl was wearing headphones and didn't hear Lily speaking. Right then, I had a hunch and quietly started recording on my phone. Lily felt insulted. She reached out and knocked the girl's headphones off. I'm talking to you. Are you deaf or something? The girl looked up, dazed, and asked softly, Excuse me, what did you say? I'm pregnant. Give me your seat. Lily snapped. The girl glanced around helplessly before saying quietly, I'm not feeling well. Would it be possible? Like hell it is. What could possibly be wrong with you? I'm pregnant. Got it. The elderly people sitting on either side also began to scold the girl for being inconsiderate. In our day, we were all about helping others. Morals really have declined these days. All those years of schooling were a complete waste, and no one at home taught you any better. So young, and yet you have no manners at all. Emboldened by the chorus of support, Lily puffed out her chest and looked down at the girl with a haughty, challenging glare. I stood to the side, silent, but I had been observing the girl closely. She had long hair, but it was unnaturally jet black and glossy, with a part that looked distinctly artificial. A bold hypothesis began to form in my mind. The girl sat there looking wronged, her eyes welling up with tears on the verge of spilling over. Just as she started to rise to offer her seat, I reached out and gently pressed her back down. Don't get up if you're not feeling well, little sister, just stay seated. The girl looked at me, and the tears instantly streamed down her face. Lily stared at me in disbelief. In her mind, I was supposed to be on her side. Chloe, are you crazy? I'm pregnant. What's the big deal if she gives up her seat for me? She directed all her pent-up fury at me. There are priority seats for the elderly, disabled, and pregnant. You could have asked someone there. Why are you picking on a little girl? I started to stir the pot. Lily has a fiery temper. When she's angry, she'll say anything. What do you mean I'm picking on her? A little girl, dressed in a skirt that short, looking like a total slut. For all we know, she's selling it. The girl's face flushed crimson. She shrank into her seat, her shoulders trembling uncontrollably. Then why don't you go ask that guy in the priority seat to give you his spot? That girl offering you her seat was a courtesy, not an obligation. Most people standing on the subway are commuters, dead tired from their daily grind, who'd be willing to give up their seat. As soon as I said that, someone led the charge with a loud shout of here, here. Lily was visibly embarrassed by my words, but she glanced sideways at the tough-looking man sitting in the priority seat. He was resting with his eyes closed, acting as if he couldn't hear a thing. Once again, she turned her aggression toward the girl. Move it. I'm sitting here today, no arguments. If anything happens to my son, you'll be sorry. The girl pressed her lips together and stood up, impatient with how slowly the girl was rising. Lily grabbed at her arm but accidentally caught her hair instead. The girl's jet black hair came away in an instant, revealing a completely bald head. Everyone was stunned. Lily was also at a loss, looking at the wig in her hand, then at the girl's pale face and bloodless lips. She seemed to understand something. If you're sick, what are you doing taking the subway? If you're ill, you should stay home. The young people nearby couldn't stand to watch any longer. Fuck, are you pregnant or something? Hatching a golden egg? What the hell are you yapping about? Picking on a sick girl? Whatever you're carrying can't be any good. Get the hell off this bus. You piece of trash. I took off my own beanie and put it on the girl's head. Don't be angry, she's crazy, not worth arguing with. Come on, sit down. I helped the girl back into her seat. Everyone in the train car was yelling at Lily, and she was hopelessly outnumbered. With 2 stops still to go before the maternity hospital, she dragged me off the train in shame. They're all ganging up on me. That girl might not even really be sick. But I'm carrying a son. If I lose this baby, which one of them is going to take responsibility? I can't be bothered with Lily. She's like a rabid dog, snapping at everyone. Lily's prenatal checkup went smoothly and was over in under 2 hours. On the way home, she stood at the hospital entrance, told me to hail a cab, and declared she'd never take that godforsaken subway again. At that moment, I pretended to pick up my phone and set an alarm. A minute later, the phone rang. Hello? Oh, Mr. Zhang, you need me back for a meeting right now. Okay, I'll be right there." After hanging up, I shrugged my shoulders. "The general manager needs me back for a meeting. You'll have to grab a cab." Lily shot me a dirty look and hailed a taxi. As soon as the taxi turned the corner and disappeared from sight, I immediately turned and hurried back to the hospital. I found the doctor who had examined Lily and explained that her test results had just been lost. So I was there to get another copy printed. Lily is now 3 months pregnant, and her latest checkup results still show everything is normal. According to the course of events in my past life, the pregnancy will likely end in a miscarriage during the 4th month. The next month's prenatal checkup will reveal the whole truth. After I got home, I edited the footage from the subway and pixelated the girl's face, then I posted it across various social media platforms using my alt account. Not only that, I even spent 50,000 yuan to promote the video in less than 2 days. The video made headlines in the social news section. Hashtag are pregnant women above the law. Hashtag sick girl forced to give up seat by pregnant woman. Hashtag pregnant woman resorts to violence after sick girl refuses to give up seat. Hashtag. I was scrolling through these posts in the office, absolutely delighted. I know exactly what this generation of netizens is capable of. Lily, it's your turn to face the online mob this time. This woman is a complete idiot. The girl already said she was uncomfortable, and she just wouldn't let it go. So wearing a JK uniform means she's selling herself. That pregnant woman over there is wearing a tank top, isn't she? What? Is she supposed to go out and sell herself with a baby bump? Is she just a misogynist? How disgusting. With a mouth that vile, any child she has won't be worth a damn. You're jumping the gun. A person like that can't even have kids, and if she did, the kid wouldn't have an asshole. This last comment got the most likes and was immediately pushed to the most prominent spot. Lily saw these posts and comments too. I thought she'd lay low, but I never expected her to confront it head-on like that. At Just a Straight Talk, if you want to know if my kid has an asshole, why don't you pull down their pants and take a look for yourself? The netizen fell silent for a long time, and finally wrote 3 words under Lily's comment. Just you wait. At noon, Lily asked me to go downstairs for lunch again. I carried my lunchbox to the cafeteria. The moment Lily walked in, all eyes were on her, and people immediately started huddling in small groups, whispering, "Did you see the video online?" I kept my head down, focusing on my meal, trying hard to suppress a smile. Yeah, I saw it. Whoever the bastard was who recorded it, they only blurred that little bitch's face, not mine. The moment I got to work today, all my colleagues were whispering and pointing at me. It's not like I've done anything that terrible. 3. Lily spent the entire lunch hour complaining, and I was the one listening. In the afternoon, a colleague suddenly announced in the office, "Chloe, your friend is making a huge scene on the 16th floor. It's quite the spectacle." Then, they dragged me up to the 16th floor to see the commotion. The moment we stepped out of the elevator, we saw a huge crowd gathered in tight circles. Lily was wailing like a stuck pig, loud enough to raise the roof. "On what grounds are you firing me? I've worked diligently at this company for 5 years. You can't just dismiss me like that. I won't accept it." I pushed through the crowd and saw Lily slumped on the floor by her company's entrance, carrying on like a harpy, beating her chest and pounding the ground. The HR director looked at her coldly. "Do you know what they're saying about you online? A disgrace to society? A shame to all women. How could our company possibly keep an employee with such corrupt morals and disgraceful conduct? Well, you can't just fire me. You have to give me my severance package, N+1, or we'll see each other in court." Lily knew there was no way she could stay, so she started fighting for her compensation. Compensation. Take a look at your own attendance record over the years. Constant lateness, leaving early, unexcused absences, and taking kickbacks. The company should be the one suing you. The HR director tossed a file folder onto the floor. Lily picked it up with trembling hands and took a look. Her eyes rolled back, and she fainted on the spot. The HR director, utterly unfazed, calmly dialed 120. After some thought, I took a day off from work and quietly made my way to Central Hospital. When I arrived at the ER, Lily's husband, Michael, was already there, looking at this man with his weaselly face. I felt a wave of disgust. Lily has a real competitive streak with other women. If I ever exchanged more than a few words with her husband, she'd immediately think I was trying to seduce him, and it didn't stop there. Anytime her husband and I were in the same place, she'd tell me not to wear makeup or dresses. In her eyes, every woman was after her husband. I watched from a corner as the doctors bustled about. Lily was fine and had already been taken to a room to rest. Just as I was about to leave, disappointed, I suddenly heard Michael's voice on the phone in the hallway. "Oh, sweetheart, what else could I do?" She was suddenly rushed to the hospital. "I had to come. Don't worry. I'll definitely come see you today. You're carrying my son. After all, who else would I spoil?" I quietly slipped out and took the elevator downstairs. So Michael has been seeing someone else all along. At that thought, a bold idea popped into my head. I found a private detective agency online and spent a month's salary to have them investigate Michael. At the same time, I began to change my attitude towards Lily. During her days in the hospital, I visited every day to bring her food and check in on her. Sensing the change in me, Lily started pushing her luck again. "I'm being discharged tomorrow. Leave work early to pick me up and take me home." "Sure, no problem," I said with a smile, peeling an apple for her. The next afternoon, I took some time off and drove to the hospital to bring her home. In the car, I noticed her visibly rounded belly. "Is your husband really busy lately? He didn't even come to pick you up after something as important as being discharged from the hospital." Lily sat bolt upright and immediately started explaining on Michael's behalf. "He just landed a new project, right? The manager over there keeps asking him out. Oh, you know how it is, my husband is so talented, all the higher-ups really value him." "Exactly, and now that you've just been let go from the company, all the household expenses will have to rely on him. I bet he's going to be even busier from now on." Lily's face turned ashen. After a moment, she placed a hand on her lower abdomen and said with a smile, "That's not a problem. Once I give him a son, I can just stay home, take it easy, and live a life of leisure." Right. Of course, I just went along with whatever Lily said, agreeing with her on everything. Before long, she started to cheer up again. That was, until she saw the disastrous state of her own front door. I walked her upstairs and pressed the button for the 3rd floor in the elevator. The moment the elevator doors opened, I was hit by a pungent, foul smell. "Who the hell has such terrible manners? Taking a shit in the hallway," Lily yelled, covering her nose. But when she saw the source of the stench, any concern for her image went out the window. Someone had smeared a thick layer of excrement all over her apartment door. It was early autumn. Swarms of flies were buzzing in circles around the door. Not only that, but 6 wreaths were neatly arranged on either side of the entrance, complete with elegiac couplets. "You vile old hag, may your children be born without anuses. You've pushed people too far, may you be struck by lightning." I'm looking through them one by one, and netizens are truly creative. Lily was so angry she was left speechless. Just then, a few neighbors came downstairs, holding their noses in disgust as they hurried past. They didn't miss the chance to throw in a sarcastic jab. "Serves you right, what goes around comes around. What the hell are you talking about? Fuck, I'll rip your mouths off." Seeing how things were going, I figured I'd better make myself scarce. "Well, I'm gonna head out now." Lily grabbed my sleeve. "What do I do? How do they know where I live?" "Chloe, I really don't dare stay in this house anymore. If I had to guess, she'll say in the next second, 'Can I crash at your place for a few days? Can I crash at your place for a few days?'" Just as I thought, Lily didn't let me down, but she doesn't know that I was the one who deliberately gave her home address to that netizen called Just a Seeker. I suspect all of this was his doing. Of course I can help. We're best friends, aren't we? How could I not help you when you're in trouble? But as for Michael, after a moment's thought, Lily took out her phone and called Michael. To her surprise, Michael agreed without hesitation and even mentioned he wouldn't be coming home for the next few days. After hanging up, Lily muttered to herself, "He's so busy he didn't even ask how I'm doing." Oh, come on, that's just how men are. His career has to come first. He's out there working hard. And it's all for you, isn't it? As soon as I said that, Lily's mood brightened instantly. Lily came straight to my house without even going home first. She wore my clothes, ate my food, and slept in my bed. When I wasn't home, she would rummage through every room. And how do I know all this? That's because when I was planning all of this, I had already installed hidden cameras in every room of the house. Not a single move Lily made escaped my notice. Before I knew it, it was time for her prenatal checkup again. This time, I took the initiative to request time off from work to go home and pick her up. Lily has put on a bit of weight staying at my place these days, but she's too scared to go outside. Even when she takes a walk around the complex, she wears a mask, terrified of being recognized. Once, she went to the supermarket without her mask and ended up being chased and yelled at by 3 older women. She tried to vent to Michael, but every time, he'd find an excuse to hang up within 3 minutes. Work, a meeting, something urgent. Just like in my past life, Lily was completely and utterly socially ruined. The same thing happened at her prenatal checkup today. She couldn't wear a mask during the examination. As a result, someone recognized her. Isn't that the pregnant woman who was causing trouble on the subway the other day? Ugh. Being in the same hospital as her is just the worst. Stay away from her. Just seeing that kind of person is annoying. She's like a total lunatic. Hearing these words, Lily trembled with rage, but she didn't dare confront them there and then, because they all had their husbands by their side, and she was afraid of getting beaten up. See, people always pick on the weak and fear the strong. It was Lily's turn for the checkup, and I waited in the hallway outside. An hour later, Lily walked out of the examination room, her face pale as a sheet. I already had a pretty good idea of what was coming. So, how did it go? What did the doctor say? Lily stuffed the report into her bag, her voice a little unsteady. Oh, it's nothing. Everything's fine. Ha 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 ha. What could possibly be wrong with me? I smiled and said nothing. After driving Lily home, I headed back to the hospital. Doctor, my friend was here for a prenatal checkup earlier. She said she lost the paperwork and asked me to come reprint it. The doctor muttered a few words. In the end, I left the hospital with all the test results in hand. It wasn't until I got back to the office that I started looking through these reports. They showed that the baby Lily was carrying had no fetal heartbeat or embryonic pull. To put it bluntly, it was a non-viable pregnancy. I pulled up the home security feed. Lily was lying face down on the bed, sobbing uncontrollably, her tears soaking the pillow. I feel so bad for my latex pillow, but then, she went to the bathroom, burned the test results to ashes, and flushed them down the toilet. I knew it. Lily wouldn't tell anyone about this. These past few days, Lily has been putting on a real act, forcing herself to feign severe morning sickness every day. I played along with her act, being extra careful with my diet and everything, so she wouldn't have a chance to harm me. But to my absolute surprise, Lily actually gave me a shock. I was taking my afternoon nap at the office that day. While checking the home security camera, I noticed Lily's stomach had flattened, and she looked a bit frail. And then, after the meal, she took a whole bunch of pills. When it was time for me to get off work in the afternoon, she went into the bedroom and put on a fake silicone pregnancy belly. It seems this whole chain of events has set off a butterfly effect. For instance, Lily's stillborn fetus was miscarried earlier than expected. The private investigator finally called. He sent all of Michael's information to my email. After downloading the files, I discovered Michael wasn't just having an affair. The other woman had even had his first son, who's already 4 years old. And now she's pregnant with a second child. In other words, Lily has been utterly and completely cheated on. I've gathered and organized Michael's information. Time to prepare for a counterattack. Lily is currently unemployed, and Michael has stopped sending her living expenses, citing cash flow problems. Within a couple of months, she ran out of money. Just as she was racking her brains trying to figure out how to make money, I told her that all publicity is good publicity. Why not just go live now while she still has some online buzz? Lily took my advice. She converted my study into a live streaming room and started broadcasting her sob story. First, she made a public apology to the sick girl. She then began to fabricate a tragic backstory for herself. Just like that, Lily's livestream channel gained tens of thousands of followers in just 1 week. Seeing the time was ripe, Lily began selling products during her live streams. However, due to that previous scandal, netizens weren't buying it. I only followed her account for the entertainment value. Another week went by, and not a single item was sold. Instead, I ended up losing tens of thousands on inventory. Lily looked at me with utter contempt. She said it was all my fault for giving her such terrible advice, which led to her losing so much money. I can tell Lily has it in for me. I was resting at home over the weekend. Lily was live streaming again, and I was just about to head out to grab some snacks. She trotted over to the door and whispered to me, "Could you get me an iced Americano?" My heart sank. So that's what this was about. But you're pregnant, aren't you? You shouldn't be drinking iced Americano. You don't understand. After the first trimester, the pregnancy is stable. I don't need to avoid anything. All right then, since you insist on having that iced Americano, I'll go buy it for you. Just before I left, I caught a fleeting glimpse of triumphant mischief in Lily's eyes. I wandered around downstairs for a bit, then bought Lily an iced Americano. Then I gave Michael a call. "Hey, get over to my place right now. There's something you need to know. I'm swamped. If it's about Lily, could you keep an eye on her for me? Michael, I know you live in the complex next to mine. Are you at the playground with your son right now?" A sharp, hurried gasp was clearly audible from the other end of the line. What do you want?" "No reason. Just wanted to invite you to see a good show." "Great, I'll be right there." After hanging up, I went home. But I deliberately left the door slightly ajar. I handed the iced Americano to Lily. She was still speaking loudly into the camera. "Hey everyone, my friend bought me this coffee. She says it's good for you and really wakes you up." With that, she downed it in one go. By this point, the barrage of comments was already starting to pick up. "Pregnant women shouldn't drink iced Americanos. Your friend let you drink this knowing you're pregnant. Someone's trying to harm you. You should go to the hospital." Lily stared at the screen after finishing her drink, beginning to panic. Pregnant women aren't supposed to drink that." "Chloe, why did you give me coffee? Why are you trying to hurt me?" "Hey everyone, I'm signing off for now. I need to get to the hospital." With that, Lily quickly ended the live stream, terrified I might say another word, but she didn't notice how eerily calm I was in that moment. "Chloe, everyone heard you tell me to drink that iced Americano. If anything happens to my baby, you'll be held responsible." As she spoke, she began to feign a stomachache and slowly lowered herself to the floor. My stomach. "Chloe, why would you do this to me? Are you jealous that I have a family, a husband, and a child? You owe me compensation. 1 million. No, wait, 2 million. Oh, you've killed my baby." I'm rolling my eyes. What on earth is there to envy about your life? If marriage is so great, why do you have to nag about it every single day? Honey, what's wrong? Are you okay? Is the baby alright? Michael suddenly pushed the door open. He might not have any real feelings for Lily, but he truly cared a great deal about her child. Lily was a bit nervous this time. Michael wasn't part of her plan. I dialed 120 while they were talking. "Hello, yes. I have a pregnant woman here with severe abdominal pain. She can't even stand up. The location is," Lily, her face pale, said, "Don't call an ambulance. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine." Before I could even speak, Michael snapped, "Whether you're okay or not doesn't matter. What's important is my son. What if something happens to him?" As he said this, Michael reached out to touch Lily's stomach. Lily instinctively flinched backward. But Michael was too quick. His hand had already made contact with her belly. Michael's face fell. As a father, he knew exactly how a pregnant belly should feel. He yanked up Lily's shirt, revealing a silicone prosthetic belly. Fake. Michael seemed unable to believe it and ripped the prosthetic right off. Smack. A sharp slap echoed through the room. "How dare you fucking lie to me?" Lily was completely panicked by now. She clung to Michael's leg. "Darling, I didn't mean for this to happen. I lost the baby. Please believe me. I can still have children. I can." I stood in the living room, watching them tear each other apart, but Lily had no idea her live stream had never actually been shut down. I'd long since had a virus planted in her phone, and now I could control it remotely. The very second she clicked to end the stream, I turned it right back on. If nothing goes wrong, at least tens of thousands of people are watching this farce right now. I took advantage of the chaos to reposition the live streaming phone, and it's now pointed directly at the living room. The ambulance arrived quickly. After the doctor saw Lily's flat stomach and the fake silicone belly on the floor, he didn't say a word, collected the call-out fee, and left. With all his pent-up rage and nowhere else to vent it, Michael started punching and kicking Lily. Lily tried to make a run for it, but I happened to be standing right in her path, and she ran straight into me. A stack of papers spilled out of her bag. Out of the corner of her eye, Lily caught sight of a few photographs, and her fleeing footsteps came to a halt. They were photos of Michael with his pregnant mistress, out shopping together with a child. Lily's hands trembled as she picked up the photograph. "Michael, I nearly died giving birth to your child, and this is how you repay me. I'll kill you." A woman scorned possesses a terrifying, inhuman strength. In an instant, Lily's claws raked bloody scratches across Michael's face. Watching those two tear each other apart was deeply satisfying. It wasn't until a neighbor finally called the police. 5. When the police arrived, Lily and Michael were still wrestling on the ground. They were taken to the police station. I went straight to the real estate agent and signed the contract to sell my house. People like Lily are like rabid dogs, biting at everyone to get away from her. I listed my house with an agent as soon as I got my second chance. When I had finished everything and returned home once more, people in Lily's live stream are still spamming the chat. "She's lost it, completely lost it. This woman is insane. What a wild ride today, getting to watch this whole soap opera unfold. Poor Chloe really got the short end of the stick. Thank God that scumbag showed up, or she'd have had no way to clear her name. Lily is so money hungry she's lost her mind. Faking a pregnancy to trap her friend. What a toxic bestie." I appeared on camera. "I'm really sorry, everyone. I've made a fool of myself for you all today. I'm leaving the live stream." With that, I decisively ended the live stream. The next day, the police summoned me for questioning. I told the police the whole truth and simultaneously filed a lawsuit against Lily, accusing her of extortion. I didn't even have to submit evidence. The complete video from the live stream was right there. On the day of the court hearing, Lily saw the murderous look in my eyes. She cursed at me right there in the courtroom, still insisting that I was the one who caused her to lose the baby. After I submitted her prenatal examination report to the judge, Lily was left speechless. In the end, the judge sentenced Lily to 3 years in prison. After moving, I also changed jobs. A long time passed, and I never heard Lily's name mentioned again, that is, until a class reunion several years later. A classmate who had become a police officer brought up Lily's name again over dinner. The first thing Lily did after getting out of prison was to look for me, but the old house had long since had new owners. I'm not with the company anymore. Lily, still fuming, went to confront Michael again, but Michael was now happily married, with a wonderful family and 2 sons. He was on top of the world every single day. Not only that, but the mistress, now his legitimate wife, was living the life of a lady of leisure at home. Michael had entrusted all his money to her. All of this was what Lily had once dreamed of having. Lily confronted Michael, demanding he pay child support. She ended up being thrown out of the house by Michael. One night, after drinking with friends, Michael stumbled home, completely drunk and swaying as he walked. As he reached the entrance to his building, Lily suddenly burst from the bushes, a knife in her hand. 1 stab, 2 stabs, 3 stabs. She stabbed Michael a total of 16 times. Lily was still there when the police arrived. This time, she was sentenced to death for murder, and I will never see her again. After hearing what my classmates said, it suddenly dawned on me that Lily is actually quite pitiful, but every pitiful soul has their own hateful flaws. Good and evil will always get there, just deserts. All I know is, this time, I won. Story 2, a decade ago. My younger brother went berserk and attacked people on the street with a kitchen knife, leaving over a dozen dead or injured. I stopped my wounded mother from rushing toward the scene. In her rage, my mother bit a chunk of flesh clean off my arm. My brother was shot dead on the spot. After that, my mother never spoke of my brother again, as if his name was forbidden. I thought she had finally let go of the matter, until I was diagnosed with stomach cancer, the night before I passed. My mother whispered, "You'll finally be with your brother again." So it was her all along. She's the one behind my illness. She's been holding this grudge against me for years. When I opened my eyes again, I'd traveled back to the day my younger brother was first arrested. On my 30th birthday, I lay in the hospital bed quietly awaiting death. After the bitterness fades, resignation is all that remains. Looking at my gray-haired mother, my eyes welled up with reluctant tears. "Mom, take good care of yourself. You're the only one I can't stop worrying about." Yet she seemed to be stifling laughter, barely containing her amusement. "Nothing to worry about at all. You've left me so much money I couldn't spend it in 3 lifetimes. I was utterly baffled. When did I ever leave you money? That 600,000 debt I told you about, it was all a lie. For 10 years I've lived in fear, forced to drop out and work, never sleeping soundly with that imaginary debt hanging over me. Why? Mom, how could you lie about something like that? I was 1 semester away from graduating in Haicheng, about to make something of myself, and you." Mom suddenly stood up, glared at me with fury, and slapped me twice across the face. I was completely drained, my body limp with exhaustion, though her blows left me seeing stars and my head spinning. I still needed to know why. Why would you deceive me? After all my struggles to get into university, how could you force me to drop out over this? 1. She spat in my face with a venomous disgusting. "The moment you killed my son, you ceased being my daughter. What's wrong with sweet-talking you out of some money? That stomach cancer of yours, I carefully nurtured it myself. Your mid-stage gastric cancer showed up on last year's checkup. I lied about you being fine, just waiting till it became incurable, beyond anyone's power to save you. I want you dead, to die in excruciating pain. This illness hurts, doesn't it? Your suffering brings me joy." Had she not mentioned it, I might have completely forgotten. I still have a younger brother. I saved her from Kyle's blade that day, and she repaid me by tearing a chunk of my flesh with her teeth. I thought she'd moved on since she never mentioned it again. But turns out she'd been holding on to that grudge all along, and directing all that hatred at me, after slaving away to provide for her for 10 damn years. What did she even take me for? Heartbroken, I grabbed my mother's arm. "He was going to kill you. Was saving your life my crime? I'm your child too. Why go to such lengths to destroy me? After all these years slaving away to provide for her, don't I deserve at least some credit? With my son gone, what's the point of living? If it weren't for avenging him, I'd have joined him long ago." She yanked my oxygen tube and hissed, "How does it feel to suffocate? Now you know what my boy went through. What is it? Die already?" I devoted my life to filial piety, never imagining my own mother would be my undoing, all because I saved her from her son's blade. I despise her. I thought I was dead. To my shock, when I opened my eyes, I'd traveled 13 years back, to the day my brother was first arrested, seeing her again. My entire body trembled as waves of hatred surged through my chest. This time, I'll make sure to witness just how peacefully my mother can live clinging to her precious son, without me in the picture, handcuffed and silent in the corner. Kyle watched as my mother yanked the officer's sleeve, sobbing hysterically, "You've got the wrong person. My son would never steal. He even won the 3 Good Student Award in 5th grade. He's truly a well-behaved boy. You must have the wrong person." When the officers ignored her and insisted on taking Kyle away, my mother panicked. She suddenly grabbed my sleeve and shoved me toward the officers. It was her, she's the one who did it. Just take her away, leave my son alone. Digging her nails into my arm while shooting me a meaningful look, the officer looked stunned. We have surveillance footage showing your son stealing. His sister must have put him up to it. My boy's an angel at home, she's the rotten one who corrupted him. Arrest her instead. My son's just a child, what does he know? The older one led him astray. Mid-sentence, my mother suddenly slapped me across the face. What are you standing there for? Go confess right now. I'm telling you, you're the one who put my son up to stealing, and I won't let you get away with this. In my past life, I was the epitome of a filial daughter. So foolish that I actually took the fall for my younger brother just as my mother demanded. Not only did I miss my exams, but I also became branded as a thief in everyone's eyes. To clear my brother's name, my mother kept telling everyone that I was the thief. Kyle, the real culprit, ended up playing the victim because of me. Everyone accused me of being rotten to the core. Stealing money meant for medical treatment. I still have my pride. How could I possibly stay indifferent to all those vicious rumors? Whenever I voiced my frustration, Mom would shut me down with "an elder sister is like a mother. An elder sister is like a mother. Back in the day, if I died, wouldn't you have to care for your brother? You should treat him as your own child. No matter what, that child still calls you sister. When your father and I are gone, you'll still have family to turn to. Without a brother, what would you do? Wouldn't you be desperately lonely being the only one left in this world?" I became almost pathologically convinced that my mother was right. So much so that when classmates shunned me or people gossiped, I just hypnotized myself into feeling noble about it, fancying myself some kind of saint, radiating maternal virtue from head to toe. I was being stupid before. This time, I won't let her treat me like this anymore. I yanked my hand away, ignoring her ugly expression, and shouted, "I didn't steal anything. Excuse me, I need to get to school." I was about to leave when my mom grabbed my arm. "You're not going anywhere. You're coming to the police station with your brother." I resisted. "I'm not going." She held me tight. "You're going whether you like it or not." Having been through this before, I knew exactly why she insisted I tag along. This is just setting the stage to frame me. I flung the door open and screamed at the top of my lungs. "The police already confirmed Kyle stole it. Why are you forcing me to confess? Kyle's reputation matters. But mine doesn't. How could you be so biased? It was clearly Kyle who stole it. Why pin it on me? Are you even my real mother? I've got my second mock exam today. It's crucial. I have to go. Officer, please talk some sense into my mom. I swear I didn't steal anything. I've got an exam to take." The police had originally come quietly to make the arrest, so hardly anyone in our building knew about it. But after my loud outbursts, at least 3 or 4 floors worth of neighbors came out to gawk. That's when my dad, who'd been MIA this whole time, finally put down his chopsticks to stop my mom. "Let her go take the exam. What kind of spectacle is this with everyone watching? You might not be embarrassed, but I am. Get her out of here, too." The way people were pointing and whispering drove my mother absolutely furious. "You little brat, how dare you pull this stunt? I'll beat you senseless," as she charged at me. I melted into the crowd and walked away without looking back. Exams are crucial. If I could do it over, I'd give everything to get out of this house. When I got home that night, my mom was waiting in the living room with a clothes hanger in hand. The moment I stepped inside, she started swinging at me. "You've got a death wish. You humiliated me so badly this morning. I could kill you for that. He's your own brother, still just a kid. How could you let him end up in a police station, as his sister? If you won't protect him, at least don't go blabbing about his theft to everyone, you viper, heartless wretch. I should have drowned you in a chamber pot when I had the chance." I snatched the clothes hanger from her instead of taking the beating. "Didn't you hear the cops? The surveillance footage caught him red-handed. How could I possibly take the fall for that? Besides, wouldn't it look even worse for you if we both ended up behind bars? Instead of blaming me for not taking the fall for him, maybe you should reflect on how you spoiled Kyle into becoming like this, smoking, drinking, stealing at such a young age. No matter how many times we talk to him, he never listens. How many times has he been caught already? She always brushes it off with that same old excuse. He's still young. He'll grow out of it." After I mercilessly called her out on her mistakes, she shrieked, "Look who's gotten so bold. Now I can't even scold you. Am I your mother or are you mine? Who do you think you're ordering around, showing off in front of me? I'll raise my son however I damn well please. Who asked for your opinion? Am I his mother or are you? If you won't discipline him, then shut your trap instead of kicking me when I'm down. One more word and I'll slap that mouth right off your face." She always pulls this crap to shut me down. I refuse to keep arguing. She's completely unhinged and holds grudges like nobody's business. I still carry this mix of resentment and fear toward her. She shot me a venomous glare before storming back to her room. My father just sat there smoking, watching us argue. Not a single word, not even a flicker of expression. I glanced at him, 10 years apart. Yet I felt no longing whatsoever. That winter break during my junior year. My younger brother tried to steal money. When Dad scolded him, he flew into a rage and hacked him to death with a knife. Then he took to the streets wielding a knife, attacking people at random. When my mother and I tried to intervene, we both got slashed by him. Eventually he was shot dead. Seeing my father like this now, I suddenly felt a weight lift off my shoulders and smiled. This is what they call what goes around comes around. They never disciplined their child, letting my mom spoil my brother rotten. By the time they tried to rein him in, it was too late. He even lost his life over it. What a pointless tragedy. Though my parents favored my brother, they cared more about saving face. And in my mother's mind, my brother was her pride and joy. She always said she'd be too ashamed to show her face in public if she hadn't given birth to my younger brother. But to my father, saving face meant so much more. All he cared about was his own authority. Yet he was too lazy to exert it, only piping up at the 11th hour to assert his dominance. The rare reunion of our family of 4 left me utterly suffocated. Back in my room, I burned the midnight oil studying. It's been 12 years since I last studied these subjects, completely forgotten by now. I struggled all day today but still couldn't finish all the problems. My grades have definitely taken a nosedive compared to before, so I had to push myself harder. Hoping to maintain my previous scores in the college entrance exams and fulfill my university dream, before we could settle in, trouble struck our family again. Kyle was detained for a day just to scare him straight. Given his young age, he got off with just paying a fine. There wasn't any real punishment to speak of either. Inside, he fell in with even worse delinquents, completely losing interest in studying and only wanting to drop out and join the streets. After returning home, he immediately started demanding to quit school. My mother only learned about it when the teacher called. My brother had assaulted the school principal to force them to let him drop out. The principal wasn't having any of it and called the police right away. My brother almost got sent back to juvie again within just a week. She rushed to the school, apologizing profusely and practically groveling to beg for mercy. When she tried to lecture him afterward, he just glared and snapped. Mind your own business. Mom was livid. Seriously, you're just a kid, dropping out to do what? Be a delinquent. You might not care about shame, but I do. Kyle almost came to blows with her. I told you to stay out of my business. What else can you do besides bossing me around? Get a life of your own, will you? Whether I drop out or not is none of your damn concern. At least finish vocational school so you'll have skills to support yourself. How are you gonna eat if you quit now? You're too young to even land a proper job. My mom screamed hysterically at him. What? You're gonna steal again? Wasn't getting caught last time embarrassing enough for you? Kyle got triggered and snapped. If you won't buy it from me, what else am I supposed to do? Steal it? If you'd just bought it for me earlier, I wouldn't have to steal. This is all your fault. Listening to their argument from my room, I could barely contain my laughter. The root cause of Kyle turning into a troublemaker lies in his fundamentally selfish nature. All these years, my mother spoiled him rotten, granting his every whim. He's become impossibly high maintenance, making endless unrealistic demands. Eventually, when my mother couldn't keep up with his demands, he turned to stealing. When human ambition grows unchecked, it becomes a bottomless abyss. He'd been stealing for a while, pilfering money from home more than once. My mom always brushed it off, saying he was just a kid after all. Little did she know, someone who steals at home would only grow bolder outside. Now she's reaping what she sowed, yet can't lay a finger on my brother, so her resentment toward me grows. You damn girl better look after your brother. Hear me, give him your hard-earned cash. I fed you, clothed you, sent you to school, also you'd support my son. Got it? When I didn't respond, she deliberately raised her voice. Listen to me, sweetheart. I bought your sister a huge insurance policy with you as the beneficiary. If she ever refuses to give you money later, I'll just stab her to death for you. I put on my earplugs. With so little time left for exam prep, I couldn't afford to waste energy on this nonsense. After the college entrance exams ended, I immediately found a part-time job. I opted for a student loan, which gives me 8,000 yuan per year. At Haicheng University, tuition is 5,200 yuan per academic year, plus 800 yuan for accommodation. I just need to save up enough for my living expenses. So when job hunting, I wasn't picky and just took a part-time gig at a convenience store. At $18 an hour, I practically lived at the store, ended up taking nearly every night shift. One quiet night when the store was empty, I was sneaking a nap, then the security camera caught a shady figure lurking around. I recognized the shoplifter instantly. It was my own brother. I called his name coldly, Kyle. He tossed the stolen items onto the counter impatiently. "What? I'm your brother. You were stealing." He remained nonchalant. "Why don't you just cover it for me?" I snapped. "Why the hell should I pay for you? Don't you work as a waiter at that food stall? Where's your paycheck?" I glanced at the items on the counter, barely $30 worth, given how much my mom spoils him. He shouldn't be this hard up for cash. Last time he got caught stealing, it was an iPhone, for God's sake. Finally, in our silent standoff, he cracked, scratching his nose as he admitted, "I didn't steal this for me. It's for my girl. She's pregnant." Pregnant with what? The moment I finished asking, my mind just went completely blank. I knew he was a jerk, but I never expected him to. And then he took advantage of my dazed state, grabbing the stuff and making a run for it. "Just take pity on your nephew. It's only a few bucks. Cover this for me." I chased after him. "Kyle, just this once. Bring those items back. They need to be scanned and counted properly." 3. Things are getting more interesting. I'm suddenly looking forward to seeing how this plays out, especially when I found out Kyle's girlfriend is 2 years older than me. I could barely keep a straight face when the college entrance exam results came out. I scored 3 points lower than in my previous life. Thankfully, the difference wasn't huge, so I still applied to Haiching University. That unfinished education became my obsession. When she saw my grades, Mom surprisingly bought me a brand new 2,000 yuan phone. "You did well. This is your reward." No reason to refuse free stuff. I took the phone without hesitation. She watched me with an ingratiating smile. I'd assumed she thought I'd made her proud. She's about to butter me up. I've made her proud after all. The moment she opened her mouth, I nearly came to blows with her. "Liar, could you maybe not go to this university?" I was completely baffled. "Why not? None of us in this family are highly educated. If you get too educated, how will you even relate to the rest of us?" I chuckled. "That's not what you told Kyle when you pushed him to study hard." With that, I dug out the old recording and played it at full volume. "Listen, Kyle. You'd better study hard and get into the best college. These days you won't amount to anything without a degree. Make your mother proud. As a man, you should at least outdo your sister." My mother turned pale, choking on her words as she stared at me speechlessly. She then resorted to her ultimate weapon, ready to hit me, but I was already fully prepared, grabbing my new phone and walking away. "Don't you dare come back if you leave. Ungrateful brat, can't even take criticism. Won't even listen to your own mother. What future do you even have?" I'd already moved out all my useful belongings bit by bit. The manager knew my situation and made an exception, cleared a corner in the storage room for my cot. I'd outgrown this home long ago. Night shifts at the store pay extra. I'd gladly live here full time. That night when my dad came to see me, I finally understood the real reason she didn't want me to go to school. "Liar, has your mother talked to you?" My dad sighed and scratched his head, struggling to find the right words. "I may not be the best father, but I have to tell you this, otherwise, I wouldn't be able to live with myself." Somehow, a sense of foreboding suddenly came over me. "What's going on?" My father rubbed his face wearily. "Your younger brother's girlfriend is pregnant. Her family is demanding a marriage swap." I asked in confusion. "What's a marriage swap?" He stammered through his words, but it hit me like a thunderbolt. "Well, she's got an older brother who is left mentally disabled from childhood fever, still unmarried. Her family demands a marriage swap. You and her brother while your brother marries her, otherwise they'll frame your brother for rape." "Your mother," she agreed. I always knew my mother was despicable, but never imagined she could sink this low. So this phone wasn't actually a reward for me, just a guilt-driven compensation. Damn it all. My dad shoved some cash at me and told me to scram. I sat there blankly in the shop for ages until the next customer came to check out. Only then did I snap out of it. My hands had gone numb from the cold, trembling uncontrollably as I lifted the scanner. I was terrified. I knew I had to run. When even someone like Leonard tipped me off, it showed how serious things had gotten. "Quit immediately and pack your bags." 4 hours later, with my belongings packed, I boarded the bus to Haiching, earned about 4,800 from 2 months of odd jobs. Plus the money my dad gave me, that should add up to roughly 7 grand. Having worked odd jobs in Haiching for 10 years, I know all the tricks to keep living costs rock bottom, know exactly which gigs pay the bills. Just as I expected, after settling down in Haiching, I got a message from my former convenience store manager. "Did you run away from home? Your mom's come looking for you at our store several times. Come home once you've cooled off. Your mom seems really worried." I heard she even filed a police report. Reading his messages, I felt truly relieved that I'd left when I did. If I'd hesitated any longer, she would have dragged me back by now. I'd blocked all her contacts, and my father had warned me beforehand that he wouldn't reach out to me again, so when his number showed up on my caller ID, I let it ring. The moment the call ended, text notifications started flooding in. "Lila, you already know. Did Leonard tell you?" Listen here, this marriage is settled. You're getting married whether you like it or not. You think running away today means you can escape forever. I'll camp outside your college, hunt you down one by one. If you're not embarrassed, I'll make such a scene that the whole world knows, until you can't show your face there anymore. I couldn't help firing back. If you're so desperate to find Kyle's girlfriend's brother a match, why don't you divorce and marry him yourself? You two would be perfect, equally clueless. What? That idiot's not good enough for you. Don't pawn him off on me. I'm no trash collector. Instead of replying, I took a screenshot of her message and called my homeroom teacher. After explaining the situation, he agreed to keep my college admission confidential, not disclose it publicly, and forward the acceptance letter to me. I'd been cautious from the start. I never listed my home address on the admission documents. Now that precaution is paying off. Just thinking about my mom sometimes makes me so mad I could have a heart attack. I know Coastal City like the back of my hand, but decent part-time gigs are hard to come by here. To secure a steady income stream, I scored a dirt cheap e-bike on the local second-hand platform and started delivering takeout. To save money, I often survive on steamed buns with pickles for all 3 meals, only splurging on a $0.70 bowl of plain noodles when it gets chilly. Day by day passes. But at least there's light at the end of the tunnel. Until the day my teacher called to say my acceptance letter was on its way, I suddenly felt a wave of dizziness wash over me. Those days were unbearably tough, so harsh I nearly lost all hope. Can't believe it's only been 2 months. August isn't even halfway through yet. School starts on September 10th. So I've still got a whole month to take orders, time to make some sweet cash. From that day on, I became addicted to making money. I'd even take orders in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep. I'd do anything for $1. All I care about now is saving up for school. Leonard checks in with me occasionally to see how I'm doing. I have no idea what's really going on with him, nor would I casually share my current situation with him. He did keep feeding me bits and pieces about his family affairs though, like how my mom and my brother's girlfriend had a full-blown street brawl that ended in a miscarriage. The whole neighborhood's buzzing about it now. Mom's even too embarrassed to go grocery shopping, terrified of becoming the town gossip. My brother also had a falling out with our mom. He stole money from home and ran away. Nobody has any idea where he is now. Mom filed a police report and searched for days. But there's been no progress. He said Mom keeps blaming me at home, insisting it's all my fault, that if I'd just obediently married that girl's brother, she and my brother wouldn't have had this fallout. I couldn't help but laugh at this part. That's so typical of her. She always shifts the blame onto me. It had absolutely nothing to do with me. She just needed a habitual scapegoat for her frustrations. Right before school started, Leonard came to Haiching to meet me. I didn't dare take him to my rented place, so we just grabbed a meal somewhere. He's never been one to express himself much, though he might open up a bit more over text. During our buffet meal, he went forever without saying a word, just staring at my face. He murmured, "Didn't I give you money? How'd you get so thin? You're all dark and skinny now, like a little black chick." I chuckled, "Delivering food under the sun does that to you. Why not get a hat then? Eat more veggies." "I came to give you money this time." He pulled out $5,000 from his pocket and stuffed it into mine. "This is for tuition. Your mom keeps tight watch." I barely managed to get my pay card out. After years of Kyle skimming off it, there's hardly anything left. This is 2 months worth of savings. Just tell me if you're short on cash. I've set a passcode on my phone now. Even your mom can't access it anymore. The moment I took the money, he suddenly became chatty, rambling on with all sorts of things to say. For decades, this was the very first time. We were like real father and daughter. He gave me endless advice, mostly about getting along with classmates, staying out of trouble but standing my ground, and calling him if anything came up. I kept my head down eating, only looking up occasionally to murmur an agreement. At the end, he suddenly looked at me and said with difficulty, "I was planning to divorce your mom, but she's pregnant again. I reckon she's completely given up on Kyle now. Son, if your mother changes, you can always come back. This will always be your home." Clutching the heavy cloth bag, I nodded absent-mindedly. He patted my shoulder and said, "Your mother and I wronged you before, but I've come around now. No matter what, I'll support your education. I'll talk your mom around. Just give me some time. Study hard. I've heard Haiching University is excellent. Once you're enrolled, no more part-time jobs. I'll cover your expenses if you're short on money." I drove him to catch the evening high-speed train back home on my e-bike. He kept saying sweet nothings the whole way. After seeing him off, it suddenly struck me how oddly abrupt his change of attitude had been. Could he have been reborn too? My curiosity was piqued, but I ultimately held my tongue. After I started school, he faithfully sent me money every month as promised, while spending the money he provided. I saved every penny I earned myself for emergencies. Even now, I still don't fully trust them, fearing we might revert to complete estrangement at any moment. Leonard frequently messages me, and I occasionally reply with a few words. Honestly, I've talked more with him this semester than in both my lifetimes combined. It's like he's been possessed by some doting father figure. The way he pampers me is unbelievable. Not only does he constantly check on me, but he's always sending money in red envelopes too. I never hesitate to accept it. Who in their right mind would turn down free money? I take whatever he gives, even if it's just a penny. We stay in touch often, yet never really grow close. Life just keeps rolling on day by day. Turns out this life's even more comfortable than the last 5. Back then, my mom refused to give me more allowance. In a megacity like Haicheng, I only got 800 yuan per month to live on. Every morning I woke up worrying about how to put food on the table. My life basically revolved around classes and part-time jobs. Now with the allowance from my dad, I finally have time to focus on studying. After finals, my dad kept texting me, wanting me to come home. I was hesitant, afraid my mom might try to marry me off to some dimwit or cripple as a favor. When I didn't answer his call, he bombarded me with messages explaining, "Kyle broke things off with that woman ages ago. I've talked to your mom, she's not rushing you into marriage. We'll make sure you finish your education no matter what. Don't let this keep you from coming home. Didn't you want to work? You can find jobs anywhere. Just come home first. No one should spend the holidays alone out there. If you won't come back, I'll go to Haicheng myself to bring you home. Listen, sweetheart, when you're older, you'll understand what it means to regret not cherishing your parents while you still can. We've had our differences, but there's still a long road ahead. If a relationship can be mended, mend it. Don't live with regrets." His words sent a genuine shiver through my heart. I'm almost certain he must know something. Before, he never got involved in Kyle's education, but he was extremely patriarchal and favored sons over daughters. He would never treat me this well normally. Over the past 6 months, I've considered many possibilities unless they've concluded Kyle is completely hopeless and decided to butter me up so I'll support them in their old age. Or maybe they're just counting on me to support this unborn child. I'm ready to keep fighting them. Leonard's words still made my heart leap into my throat. In the end, I boarded the return bus. I'm going back with just one goal, to find out if my dad is actually a reincarnated soul. I've saved up enough money anyway. If things get uncomfortable at home, I can leave on the spot. Leonard picked me up at the station. He studied me carefully when we met. "You look much better than during summer break, put on some weight and got fairer too." He took my suitcase and said, "Your mom got up at dawn to clean the house when she heard you were coming back. She even promised to cook you a special lunch. Make peace with your mom this time. She's really changed for the better now." I brushed it off without a second thought. After all these years living with my mother, nobody knows her true nature better than I do. At most, they'd be slightly nicer to me when they needed something. What I never expected was how completely different my mother's attitude became after I returned home. She was already 6 months pregnant. When I arrived, she was airing my quilt in the courtyard with her baby bump prominently showing. Spotting me, she hurried over and said, "You stubborn child. You really went half a year without talking to me." I couldn't find the right words, so I kept silent. I trailed awkwardly behind my father. The dining table was laden with an extravagant spread of dishes. During dinner, my father kept smoothing things over, so the atmosphere at the table wasn't too awkward. Then my mother suddenly said, "If only Kyle were here too, our family could be complete." My dad quickly piled food into my bowl. "Why bring him up on such a nice day? Don't you know he's a lost cause now?" she stammered. "But he's still our child after all. Shouldn't we at least let him come home for the reunion dinner during New Year's? We'll talk about it during New Year. Why the rush now?" After dinner, I went out to look for winter break part-time jobs. While walking and looking at my phone, someone suddenly bumped into me. I looked up and saw it was Kyle. A guy with bleached hair and a disheveled appearance stood before me, demanding, "Give me $50. I shook my head and turned to walk away. Kyle quickly caught up, saying, "Mom disowned me. You got what you wanted. I'm barely scraping by out here, can't even afford meals most days, and it's all your fault." His words made me laugh in exasperation. "You dropped out of school yourself. How is that my fault? If you don't take the blame for me, I'll be the laughingstock of the whole school. How could I possibly stay there?" Kyle kicked a bottle angrily and snapped, "I don't care, you're my sister, so you're responsible for me. You used my money for college. Mom said your tuition came from me. When you graduate, every penny you earn belongs to me." I almost laughed. No wonder Mom was being so unusually docile this time. So this is where the trap was set. In their minds, the family money is automatically my brother's by default. Every penny I spend is essentially his. Absolutely ridiculous. 6. Does this mean I've been living on borrowed time since birth? When I ignored him, Kyle tugged at my arm. "I'm talking to you. Are you deaf or what? Don't forget you're spending my money now. If I decide to stop funding your college, you'll end up dropping out just like me." I looked at him calmly. "Honestly, Kyle, this is as far as you'll ever go in life. Parents are legally obligated to support their children. I'm not using your money for school, so quit your arrogant ranting. Even if they cut me off, I can pay my own way. Dropping out isn't an option. And if you need money, go ask your parents, not me. The law clearly states I owe you no support while they're alive." A sinister glint flashed in his eyes. "So you're saying I should kill them? That's your condition for giving me money?" I shook my head. "No, kill them, and you'll never see a dime from me." I never liked talking to him. He was too damn stupid. I still don't want to talk to him because he remains an idiot. After chasing after me for ages and realizing I wouldn't give him any money, he finally left in a huff. I casually took a job as a supermarket promoter, and after some basic onboarding training, I headed home. The moment I stepped in, my mom rushed over to fetch my slippers. "You're back. Did you land a job?" "Got one." "Fantastic." I knew that Haiching University degree would pay off, with a decent job. Finding a good partner won't be a problem either, as she cradled her belly dreaming big. I doused her enthusiasm with reality. "Just a supermarket cashier, 0 skills required." "What? You graduated from a top-tier university. How could you settle for such menial work? Quit this job immediately. Go check out the high-tech park tomorrow and find something more prestigious. Wouldn't that make your mother proud?" I pretended not to hear my mother's nagging. "What's this nonsense about high and low jobs? As long as it pays, I'm perfectly content." My mother's never worked a day in her life. She wouldn't understand how tough earning a living really is. I won't let her words mess with my head either. Mom stopped mentioning it, but she still misses Kyle terribly. I often catch her secretly calling Kyle. Spring festival came quickly, and thanks to Mom's efforts, Kyle eventually came home. I was the one who opened the door. He gave me a scornful look and smirked. "Thought you had more backbone. Didn't expect you to come crawling back." Just then, my mom waddled out with her swollen belly. "Kyle's home." Kyle's smile froze, his eyes bulged like saucers. "You're pregnant." My mother instinctively covered her belly, but her 7-month pregnancy bulge was too pronounced to conceal. She forced an awkward smile. "I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid you'd take it badly." Kyle slammed the door shut with a bang. "And this makes it better. Why keep the pregnancy from me? Weren't you the one who said I'd always be your only rock?" "What's this about?" Kicking me to the curb, his eyes burned with a feral intensity. My mother recoiled in fear. "No, it's just, we decided to keep it. Don't overthink this." Kyle slammed his fist violently against the wall. I stood there watching like it was some show, barely breathing, yet still caught in the crossfire of his rage. "You knew all along, didn't you? You helped them hide it from me, trying to kick me out of this family. If you despise me so much, why keep begging me to come home? I fucking hate you all. Listen to me. It's either him or me in this house. You decide." He ran sobbing into his room, slammed the door shut in anger, and started throwing things around inside. My mother wiped her tears, choking on her sobs. "What do we do? Oh God, what are we going to do?" My Kyle. Seeing how distraught she was, I ended up calling Leonard. Leonard rushed back from holiday shopping outside after hearing what I said. He stared at my sobbing mother with eyes that could bore holes through her. "Didn't you say?" Kyle agreed. "You never actually told him, did you?" "I'm sorry. I couldn't bring myself to say it." Kyle's sensitive. I wanted to break it to him gently later. Leonard slammed the New Year's groceries on the ground in anger. "You knew he's sensitive yet kept delaying. Were you planning to wait until the baby's full moon banquet to tell him, Mabel? I swear you'll be the death of me, with that." He went to knock on Kyle's door again. "Open up, I'm your father." Kyle yelled from inside. "I'm not coming out unless you get that abortion." Leonard was furious, grabbing a claw hammer to smash the door. "What kind of inhuman bullshit is that? Your mother's already heavily pregnant. And you're talking about abortion. I ought to beat you to death right now. Spare society from your toxicity." My mother cradled her belly as she approached my father, murmuring, "Should we check the baby's gender first? If it's a girl, maybe we should just terminate." My father nearly rolled his eyes in rage. "You're 47, this pregnancy alone is high risk, and now abortion. Why didn't you consider it earlier? I'm done with you." How spoiled must Kyle become before you're satisfied? No matter what, he's still just a child. We're the parents here. Since when does he get to call the shots in this household? The day inevitably descended into utter chaos. My mom posted on Zaya Hongshu. She uploaded a baby bump photo, asking netizens to guess the baby's gender. Netizens shared diverse opinions, and aside from a few criticizing her gender bias, the comment section remained relatively civil. No one knows the exact details. But my mom assumed it was a girl and considered terminating the pregnancy. At the hospital, however, the doctor repeatedly emphasized the fetus's health and the risks of abortion. They ultimately refused to perform the procedure. The moment she told Kyle the news after getting home, he threw a tantrum. "Fine, stay then. You've got your new kid to replace me anyway. I'm out of here." Kyle's tactic worked like a charm. My pregnant mother lunged toward the table corner, shouting, "Kyle, I'll end this pregnancy right now if you don't grow up." I couldn't hold back anymore and grabbed her arm. "Will you two snap out of it? Just because he's being ridiculous doesn't mean you have to join in. The doctor wasn't wrong, you're high risk. What exactly are you trying to prove here?" My mother resisted being stopped by me, grumbling resentfully, "After taking such huge risks just to have a son. This pregnancy shows all the signs of a girl. What's the point of killing myself to deliver another daughter?" I was too furious to speak, but still physically blocked her from hitting her belly. Every child born today can survive. Why commit such a sin? 7. Especially when it's all about that damn son preference. Little did I expect that very night, just as I drifted into light sleep, when my father's furious shout erupted from the living room. "What the hell are you doing?" Sensing something was terribly wrong, I bolted out immediately. The front door stood ajar, yet the metallic tang of blood lingered faintly in the air. Reaching the doorway, I peered outside to see my mother clutching her stomach, writhing in agony on the floor. Kyle stood there with an indifferent look, completely unfazed by my father's furious outburst. "Mom was the one who told me to push her. Go ask her if you don't believe me. She wanted to abort because it's a girl. What's that got to do with me? Not my problem." We live on the 4th floor of an old-style apartment building. Just as Leonard and Kyle were locked in their heated argument, my mother lay moaning in pain at the stairwell landing. In the end, I couldn't bear it and called an ambulance. The cruel irony, the stillborn was a boy. When my mother heard the news, she buried her face in the blankets and never resurfaced. My dad tied Kyle up at home and beat him whenever the mood struck. The cruel irony was that it happened on Chinese New Year's Eve. From then on, I was constantly shuttling between the hospital to care for my mom and home to cook for them. On discharge day, I handled all the paperwork. My mother grabbed my hand and held it in hers. "Liar, having a daughter is truly a blessing. All the other patients have been envying me these days with you taking such good care of me." I chuckled and pulled my hand back. "I just pitied you and looked after you for a few days. Besides, Dad's paying me caregiver wages." When we got home, Kyle was still tied up. The moment he saw my mother, he immediately wriggled toward her. "Mom, please save me. Dad and my sister are trying to kill me." "Mom." Seeing Kyle in such a pitiful state, Mom's heart ached like being pricked by needles. Her hands trembling, she moved to untie Kyle when Dad snapped, "Mabel, if you dare let him go, we're getting divorced." Mom instantly flared up. "Are you out of your mind, Leonard? He's our only son left. What if you beat him senseless? Who's going to take care of you when you're old?" My father pointed at me. "I've got Lila to look after me. Once a daughter's married, she belongs to another family, even if she wants to care for you. It depends on her husband's permission. Don't count on her." My mother pulled Kyle close. "Fine, let's divorce. Even if we split up, I want my son safe and sound." My father was so infuriated by those words that he immediately went to his study and started drafting divorce papers. As soon as the ropes were untied, Kyle burst into uncontrollable tears, clutching my mother. I sobbed my heart out while recounting the ordeal of those past few days. After they wept in each other's arms for what felt like ages, I retreated to my room in complete distress. I can't shake this feeling that something bad is about to happen. A sense of dread hangs over me. Kyle convinced my mom to buy insurance policies for both my dad and me, personal accident insurance. When I got up at night, I accidentally overheard them whispering on the balcony. Little did I know I'd stumbled upon a deadly conspiracy. From their conversation, I realized they were plotting how to kill us both. They could not only stage it as accidental deaths but also claim a massive insurance payout. I was completely stunned. A wicked soul stays wicked no matter what. It's in their nature, unchanged by circumstance. I slipped away silently to my room, sleepless through the night. To be honest, I just want to keep myself out of trouble. It's hard enough to ensure my own safety in this environment, let alone protect others. Besides, there's no real connection between Leonard and me. Just as I was debating whether to tell him about my mom and Kyle's scheme, my dad suddenly texted me, asking me to join him for hot pot tonight, if your mom and I get divorced. "Who would you choose to live with?" he asked. Without hesitation, I replied, "I'm already 18, no need for custody arrangements." He completely ignored what I said and kept rambling. "Come live with me. Kyle will definitely stay with your mom. I may not have treated you well before, but everything you've ever owned came from my money. I'm the one who raised you. I never mistreated you. I'll buy a small place later, put it under your name, and we'll live there together, throughout the meal." He kept painting visions of the future. My initial irritation gradually gave way to reluctant responses. His happiness was visibly growing by the minute. After dinner, we strolled home together. As we approached the doorstep, he told me, "I asked a friend to find you an easy job with room and board. You start tomorrow morning." I've always been eager to make money, so I agreed without hesitation. "Sure." He ruffled my hair with a smile. "Life's a long journey, take your time growing up." The sudden intimacy left me flustered. We'd never been like this before. It was our first time. The next day, I started working at the place he'd mentioned. On the 6th day, the police suddenly came looking for me. "Lila, your father has passed away. You're the sole beneficiary of his estate and life insurance. He killed your mother and younger brother." 8. Those words kept churning in my mind like a broken record, yet their meaning completely eluded me. In a daze, I followed the officers to the station. The forensic examiner and detectives walked me through what had happened, along with my father's confession letter and suicide note. As I unfolded and read it, tears finally began to fall. Before leaving, the officer hesitantly asked, "Does your father have any mental illness?" "Just asking, no particular reason." Clutching the letter, I shook my head. "He's perfectly healthy." Confession letter, "I'm Leonard. Today I'm going to kill my wife and my son. I'm not mentally ill, and I'm completely lucid right now. My son Kyle conspired with my wife Mabel to murder both me and my daughter. There's recorded evidence, you can check it on my phone. To protect my daughter, I'll strike first as a warning. I've never been a good father, but I want to try being one this time." Suicide note, Lair. "I'm sorry, what I said that day was a lie. I've made up my mind to die. There's no future for us, no matter what. Just hope someday, when you think of me, you'll call me Dad from the bottom of your heart. I failed you, never gave you a decent life. I've ruined 2 lifetimes for you. I'm leaving you my entire inheritance. Study hard, and never return to the city again. Live well out there, and forget all of this." Story 2. Women of our clan are born frail, requiring the essence of beast men to prolong their lives. My elder sister claimed the robust wolf, leaving me with the feeble fox, yet the werewolf proved all bark and no bite. I raised the fox and nursed him back to health. He killed me with his bite, then crawled into my sister's chamber. Only then did I realize how deeply he loathed me. He'd always loved my sister, believing I stood in his way. When I opened my eyes again, my sister demanded we swap beastmen. I consented. But later, the dying fox dragged itself to me, begging to trade back. Stroking the wolf tail wrapped around my waist, I chuckled. "No deal." 1. I raised Gideon for 3 years. He hated me, every single one of them. He believes I'm the one standing between him and the firstborn sister. Little does he know, I've no say when facing the eldest daughter of the main house. Women of our bloodline are born frail, requiring the life essence of beastfolk to prolong our existence. As a concubine-born daughter, I wasn't given a choice. The frail Gideon was thrust upon me by the heiress. Werewolf bloodlines are noble. How dare a mere bastard like you presume to be sustained by our kind? This fox suits you perfectly, both wretched creatures. And so, I formed a pact with Gideon, but his body was pathetically weak. He couldn't even muster the strength to take human form. When I first drained his life essence, the little fox curled into a ball, begging me not to kill him. Such a frail beastfolk would likely perish from a single feeding. All lives are equal. How cruel it is to prolong human life by sacrificing beasts. Our family's affliction is an ancestral curse, unrelated to him. I never relied on Gideon to support me, and even gave him my tonic. It would have been wasted on me anyway. Gradually, Gideon grew as strong as my sister's werewolf kin. I'd planned to find Gideon a good home after my passing. Never did I imagine he'd come to despise me so. I thought even if he didn't love me, he'd at least feel grateful. Yet, I never asked you to save me. You did it willingly. Why should I be grateful? A mere commoner dares to claim lordship over my fox clan. Know your place. Without you, I could serve her alongside the werewolves. This is what you get for crossing me. Rhea, an orc can only form a life bond with one mate, or their lifeblood will turn against them, not unless I die. To be with our eldest sister. He heartlessly mauled me to death and climbed into her bed. The werewolf our sister chose was all bark and no bite. She and Gideon hit it off immediately. That beastman who killed his master should have been executed, but when our sister took a fancy to him, she lied that I'd been bitten during my promiscuous affairs with wild beastmen. When I opened my eyes again, there stood my sister holding a werewolf's leash, questioning me. "Shall we trade?" I sighed, watching Gideon, whose eyes were only for my elder sister. "Deal." My elder sister smiled sweetly. "No takebacks now, little sister. Forgot to mention, this werewolf may look strong, but he's all bark and no bite, if you know what I mean." With that, she left, cradling the white fox. The werewolf beside me said coldly, "Master, don't trust her." "Too, master." Gideon never called me that before. He barely spoke to me, let alone allowed my touch. Now, having gotten his way, He nestled demurely in my sister's arms with fox-like allure in his eyes, yet I'll never forget the savage look on his face when he tore me apart. Master, it's time for the covenant. Yora nudged his shoulder against me, bringing me back to awareness. Different beastfolk have distinct bonding rituals. Gideon chose to carve the words into his arm. Back then, I only made a shallow cut, afraid it might hurt him. Yora's bonding ritual involved leaving bite marks on his shoulder. Typical werewolf brutality, even in mating rituals. I gave him a gentle nip, but his expression turned icy. Does my lord refuse to bond with Yora? I frowned in confusion. What? He said coldly. A shallow bite makes a weak bond. Could it be that my lord still pines for that vixen? A guilty flush crept up my neck as I averted my eyes, my secret laid bare. He suddenly rose to his full imposing height, his towering frame radiating dominance. Does even my master think I'm incompetent? My gaze instinctively fell upon him, revealing abdominal muscles like terrace fields. No wonder my elder sister praised his robust physique. What a pity, with such impressive looks. Who'd have thought he'd be all brawn and no substance? Truth be told, as the orc providing for the family, Yora is far more dutiful than Gideon. Right after the bonding ritual, he ignored the bloody gashes on his shoulder and immediately offered me his life essence, having no prior experience. I flushed crimson with embarrassment. In my past life, my elder sister never stopped complaining about choosing the wrong orc mate. The werewolf looks intimidating, but all that sucking didn't do a damn thing. But personally, I find this life-draining immortality method repulsive. I turned Yora down and changed the subject. I'm skilled in medicine. Perhaps I can cure your condition, Yora said nonchalantly. What illness are you treating me for? Remembering my elder sister's words, I hesitated to speak and could only look at him. Yora seemed to understand, his stern face growing colder as he wrapped himself in the blanket and retreated to a corner, saying angrily, I'm not sick, no treatment needed. I frowned. After going out of my way to restore his werewolf vigor, how dare he get angry? From that day on, Yora gave me the cold shoulder for 10 full days. He refused my tonic, and I wouldn't accept his offerings either. Strangely enough, my health gradually improved without any tonics or Orcish vitality supplements, but from what I heard, Gideon wasn't faring so well. I saw Gideon again at a family banquet a month later. The firstborn sister sat beside the matriarch, radiating confidence. He stood there in human form, his face deathly pale. Though white foxes are naturally pale, Gideon's pallor was unnatural. It was the ashen white of the dead, given my elder sister's insatiable appetite for longevity. His frail body surely couldn't endure. In our past life, I was the one nursing him back to health. This time, no one will show him mercy. The matriarch asked her eldest daughter, Indra, how fares the beastman in your service? Your complexion has improved remarkably, child. Indra blushed demurely. Mother's technique of channeling his inner energy worked wonders. I'd never have regained such vigor otherwise. Gideon's shoulders jerked violently, his entire body tensing like a startled bird. I immediately recognized that Indra was employing the ancient beast-taming method. The archaic technique could stimulate the latent vital energy within beastmen, gradually draining them dry, with foxes being the most susceptible. Then they'd use drugs to prolong the victim's agony, preventing a quick death. But this method was tantamount to murder, only hastening the beastman's demise in excruciating torment. But Gideon loved his sister so dearly, he must have willingly given his life for her. I looked up and met a pair of crimson eyes. It was Gideon. He stood right before me, tears welling in his eyes as he gazed at me pleadingly, mouthing 3 words, help me, help, I've saved you once, there won't be a second time, what are you looking at? A sudden chill ran down my spine, piercing to the marrow. I turned to see Yora glaring at Gideon with venom in his eyes. In a voice only orcs and handlers could hear, he growled, look at her again and I'll end you, after the family feast. The women of the household gathered around Indra, seeking her wisdom on beast taming. With a bewitching smile, Indra pushed aside Gideon's arm. Upon his pale, slender forearm was carved the name Indra in deep, bone-revealing gashes. To bind an orc's loyalty, the blood pact must be carved deep. The deeper the mark, the more life essence you drain, and the longer your own years extend. Choosing the right orc matters too. Take this fox of mine, sickly as he looks, his life force runs deep. A little persuasion goes a long way. The ladies couldn't hide their envy, praising Indra's mastery over beasts. Gideon stood at the center like a courtesan, devoured by their brazen gazes. Someone ventured to ask, Indra, since the fox's effects are so remarkable, why not let Auntie have a try? The mistress chose a dog back then, and now it's old and half dead, utterly useless. If we don't replace it soon, the mistress might not even survive. Gideon turned pale with horror. his already pallid face growing even more ghastly. "Miss, please don't, I'll die," he pleaded in a whisper. Indra shot him a glance and nodded at Auntie. "Fine, just some reverse G-flow, won't kill him in a day." Panicked, Gideon shoved through the crowd, sprinted toward me, and dropped to his knees with a thud. "Rhea, I was wrong. Please, take me with you." "So, he's a reincarnator too, then he should know I won't save him again." Before I could speak, Yora kicked Gideon square in the chest, sending him flying. "How dare this filth lay hands on my master!" With contempt for the bloodied Gideon writhing on the ground, he grabbed me by the collar. "My lord, you must drain Yora's essence now, or your body won't withstand the strain." Under Gideon's hungry gaze, Yora dragged me forcibly into the bedchamber. That night shattered all my expectations. Now I understand why Indra claimed werewolf sustenance was the most potent. Now I understand why Yora insisted he wasn't ill and needed no treatment. I've come to realize there's truth to the rumors about prolonging life by draining orc essence. A single session left me feeling remarkably restored, but after a sleepless night, my complexion has taken on a sallow hue. The next day, Indra confronted me about Gideon's request for my help. Noticing my haggard appearance and Yora draping a cloak over me, she sneered. "Little sister looks so pale. Is the werewolf not performing well?" I glanced at Yora's stormy expression, recalling Indra's words, and chuckled. "Elder sister, he's deceived you." 5. Indra shot Yora a disdainful glance before turning her accusatory gaze toward me. "The real deceiver here is you. Don't you know fraternizing with orcs from other clans warrants clan punishment?" The moment fraternizing was uttered, every eye in the manor turned toward me. "Last time Indra used this very excuse to protect Gideon. Never thought it'd be about Gideon again this time. If you hadn't seduced him, why would Gideon beg you for help? Can't handle your own beastmen, so you set your sights on mine. Quite the scheme you've got there, sister." With that, Indra pressed his palms together. The servants carried in a bloodied figure. It was Gideon, loaned to the concubine by Indra last night. He now lay barely breathing. Reverse-flowing vital essence kept spilling from the covenant mark, staining the pristine fox fur crimson. Gideon collapsed on the ground, his eyes brimming with indistinguishable blood or tears. Indra planted a foot on his skull, taunting me with the gesture. "Rhea, how does it feel watching your beloved being twisted beyond recognition by my hand?" I glanced down at Gideon. Blood trickled from his lips as he silently mouthed my name, pathetic and broken. He looked even frilier than when we first met. Having been fooled once before, I knew foxes excel at playing the helpless victim. Gideon's rapid recovery in our past life wasn't just due to my meticulous care. That bastard had been deceiving me from the very beginning. Just one blood reversal won't kill him. Thinking I was reluctant, Indra laughed even more shamelessly. "If you truly fancy Gideon, you're welcome to beg on your knees. I might just return him to you." Before I could speak, hands suddenly seized my waist. Yora strode to my side, his piercing cold gaze locking onto Indra. "Your concern is unnecessary. My master is quite content with Yora. We've no need for other beasts." With that, he casually pinched me. The sharp pain from his pinch left me frozen. Yora's deep warning voice whispered in my ear, "If once isn't enough, we'll repeat until our master is satisfied." "Ha, you, nothing but a pretty face." After Indra's taunt, I clearly saw Yora's eyes turn sharp, his fingers morphing into lethal claws in an instant, murder flashing through him. Fearing he might actually strike, I quickly stepped between them. "Gideon belongs to my elder sister. Whether he lives or dies means nothing to me. Dear sister, do keep your beastkin in check. Don't come begging for my help at every turn. My own beastkin might get jealous." The hand at my waist shifted from pinching to caressing. "Seems I've finally managed to placate this werewolf." I sighed in relief, oblivious to the resentful glare Gideon shot my way. Realizing Gideon couldn't be used to manipulate me under Yora's menacing glare, Indra slunk away in humiliation. After Indra left, Yora retracted his claws and dragged me back inside. Master looked sallow, clearly not feeding enough. "Yora won't tolerate being called a useless pretty face." With that, he shifted into wolf form and advanced toward me step by step. A sudden thought struck me, and I pressed down the eager wolf's head to ask, "Why would Indra call you useless? What did you do to her?" 6. The silver-gray wolf nuzzled against my palm, docile as if forgetting it was the alpha among beastmen. He lifted his gaze with puppy-dog eyes. "Yora has served no master but you. Please believe in Yora." Of course I trust him. Indra never succeeded even once, after all. Ancient texts say the bond between humans and beastfolk is a two-way choice, but after generations of domestication, many beastfolk have forgotten they can choose. Yora didn't choose Indra, so why did he pick me? "Because you're the only one who'd heal an orc." Yora led me to a cave beneath the cliffs. In that abyss-like darkness, I saw hundreds upon hundreds of orc skeletons. Yora said these were all his kin. Every orc has such a cave, where the bones of their fallen ancestors rest, for centuries. The family has drained the life from tens of thousands of orcs to prolong their own. Though mighty, orcs are no match for human cunning. The clan ancestors set traps to capture weaker orcs as hostages, forcing them into submission. Since orcs were rare, the ancestors caged them and compelled them to breed. Fearing the orcs' resentment, they raised newborn orc pups collectively to erase their hatred. Yet blood-deep feuds are never truly forgotten, with each generation's passing. Some orcs awaken while others yield to fate. Yora refused to yield, yet a lone man stood no chance against spears and arrows. He kept searching for someone who could help him turn the tide. Yora took wolf form, licking the bones of his fallen kin. Some had long turned to dust, while others had just drawn their first breath. I never approved of this life-prolonging method to begin with, but witnessing it firsthand was utterly horrifying. This was my brother. He could have grown as strong as me. But Indra dropped him to his death right after birth. Indra mocked. I thought werewolves were legendary warriors. Turns out they're pathetically fragile. How could I possibly serve someone so cruel? In that moment, I understood Yora. I've only witnessed 3 generations of my family, yet 6 batches of orcs have come and gone. Humans naturally outlive beasts. It takes 3 or 4 orcs' lifespans to match a single human century. We survived. But they remained trapped in these bottomless caverns. Yora knelt before me, his tears staining my silk skirts. My lady may not recall, but you were the one who gathered my brother's remains and buried him beneath the tree. Without your mercy, I couldn't even have retrieved his bones. Now only you and Indra remain of our house, should she take the reins. I fear our Orcish kin would face certain doom. He looked up with desperate eyes, clinging to me like a drowning man to driftwood. My lord, would you fight for the position of family patriarch, for my sake? Yora's words ignited my ambition. Stroking his wolf-like tail, I murmured, even without you, I'd still want that title. That night, we achieved perfect harmony before Yora's kin, unlike ever before. 7. Before dawn, rustling sounds echoed from the cave. I rose from Yora's side and turned to see a row of small figures. Their eyes glowed green, fixed on me with feral growls that belied their size. She killed grandfather. Tear her apart. The lead wolf pup lunged at me, only to be flicked away by Yora's single finger. Take a good look. This is your great-grandma. The pup froze in shock, its narrow eyes widening as it pointed at Yora. Great-grandpa, you're alive. I frowned. No output as the provided text is empty or contains only a non-printing character. How come the seniority is so high? Yora said it's normal for their wolf clan. They have kids young, so the generations stack up fast. All right, but still. Great-grandma, the wolf pup glanced between Yora and me, bearing 8 tiny fangs and a toothy grin. Caden of the 666th generation of the wolf clan pays respects to our revered matriarch. Caden gave me a deep ceremonial bow. As he bent forward, I noticed a bleeding gash on his back. It's an old wound that reopened when I ran too fast just now. Nothing serious. I gathered some herbs to stop his bleeding, never expecting he'd burst into tears. Granny, you're so kind. Caden, pledge my lifelong loyalty to you. His dramatics made me chuckle. Just a small favor, no need for such vows. This is no trivial matter. Yora moved around behind me, explaining the origins of the wolf pups. These pups were all rescued from his family and secretly hidden in a mountain cave. They'd been caged since birth, left untreated when ill, and remained deeply distrustful of humans. The little kindness I showed was enough to make them risk their lives in gratitude. I watched the wolf cub's tears fall with a silent sigh. How pitiful that those filled with bitterness can be satisfied with just a drop of sweetness. Ever since then, Yora would often bring me to the cave. They were curious about the outside world, asking when they could finally leave. Yora and I exchanged glances, giving them a glimmer of hope. One day, I'll have our family come to take you out of here. Seeing their joyful faces, I envisioned a future where humans and orcs could coexist in harmony, but my voice carries little weight. There's still a long road ahead to achieve our goal. Just then, something unexpected happened. 8. Caden went missing. Yora searched for several nights but found nothing. Meanwhile, Indra's beauty grew ever more radiant, her skin as flawless as a newborn's, causing a sensation throughout the capital. When the ladies of the household inquired about her secret, fearing rivals might surpass her beauty, she credited Gideon alone. Overnight, Gideon became Indra's favored confidant, and the entire household's rising star. Yora sensed something amiss. He caught the scent of multiple orcs on Gideon. Later, Yora witnessed Gideon dumping orc cub corpses in the back mountains, his gut twisted with dread. Rushing to the cave, he found the floor slick with blood and wolf fur. Yora snapped, his eyes burning crimson. He seized Gideon by the throat. Why did you kill my people? Why? Gideon still wanted to challenge him, but the size difference was too great. Yora smashed him into the ground with a single punch. Gideon spotted me and crawled to my feet, begging. Indra forced me. I had no choice. Gideon revealed a horrifying truth to me. Since the last blood reflux incident, His body has become too weak to sustain the offerings. To avoid being abandoned, he resorted to capturing weak beast folk from the wild for Indra's rituals. Those beast folk were mere cubs, defenseless creatures that would perish after a single sacrificial ritual, but the younglings possess a unique property adult orcs lack: the power to reverse aging. Thankfully, the clan still believes in sustainable practices and hasn't descended into madness by slaughtering the young. Indra has no heart. I was forced into this. I admit my mistake. Send me back, and I won't have to do such things anymore. I can still help you take down Indra. Just give me one chance. Gideon lay sprawled on the ground, his bloodied hand clutching at my foot as he begged for mercy. I kicked his hand away and sent him sprawling with a sharp shove. Indra isn't the only heartless one here. What did those cubs ever do to you? Just as they began trusting humans, their own kind captured them for sacrifice. Gideon, you bastard. Gideon froze. He dropped the act and bared his fangs at me. Rhea, don't act so high and mighty. After all you've done for the orcs, what have you gained for yourself? Everyone's selfish. If you don't fight for your own interests, you deserve to die. That alone means you'll never be a match for Indra. I sneered. And what have you gained from slaughtering all those orcs for your own sake? Those who taint others' kindness in the name of selfishness will ultimately reap what they sow. Gideon's smile faded, alternating between desperate pleas and vicious curses directed at me. His madness finally condensed into a single sentence: don't kill me, or you'll live to regret it. I shot Yora a glance. In an instant, Yora tore out his throat. Just then, Indra arrived with the entire orc garrison. 9. Cradling Gideon's corpse, Indra accused me of slaughtering scores of orcs. Rhea secretly incited orcs to slaughter each other. Avenge your kin now. Yora transformed into a wolf, shielding me with the ferocity of one facing 10. Indra raised her hand, commanding every orc in the manor to seize me. Yet strangely, though she stood waiting, not a single orc made a move. Indra snapped, turning to berate the orcs. What's the matter? A dozen orcs scared of one werewolf. Attack. Indra was wrong. They weren't afraid of Yora. Those orcs were all patients I'd treated before. Take Auntie's old hound for example, the longest-lived orc in the manor. I saved him last winter when he was at death's door. Though Auntie grumbles about him, after decades together they've become like an old married couple, leaning on each other for comfort. Hearts aren't made of stone. Not everyone sees orcs as mere tools. Indra kept provoking, but no one responded, making her increasingly irritable. A beastman stepped forward to enlighten her. The second young lady isn't that kind of person. We've all received her kindness. There must be some misunderstanding. The beast folk murmured in agreement. Indra froze. Never in her wildest dreams had she imagined her carefully laid plans would lead to this. Before his death, Gideon once asked me, after all you've done for the orcs, what have you gained? This is what I've gained. Indra was caught in a dilemma, utterly mortified. Suddenly, Caden lunged from the cliff's edge, aiming straight for Indra's throat. But his injuries were too severe. With his last ounce of strength, he only managed to leap onto her leg before being instantly kicked away. Caden crashed to the ground, lifeless, his dead eyes still fixed unblinkingly on Indra. Anyone could tell who was slaughtering the orcs in the scene. The orcs who had been standing behind Indra now turned to me, demanding justice. Panicked, Indra abandoned Gideon's corpse and fled back to the manor. 10. Mother. She's the one who framed me for orc slaughter and incited the manor's orcs to kill me. The moment I returned to the manor, I overheard Indra tattling malicious lies about me to the matriarch. Upon seeing me, the matriarch immediately demanded I be punished according to family discipline. Rhea, how dare you slander your elder sister and defy the natural order with such audacity? The matriarch had been setting traps for me for years. Countless times I'd endured it helplessly when powerless. I won't hold back anymore. I stared straight at them without a trace of fear. Whether this is slander, my elder sister knows best. Still lying. Beat her. Who dares try me? With a wolf's howl from Yora, a dozen orcs shapeshifted simultaneously, flooding the manor hall with their hulking forms. The overwhelming display forced even the matriarch to retreat several paces, but swiftly, she summoned archers to execute the rebels. Not a single orc flinched before the wall of arrows. Sworn to avenge their fallen kin, I stepped forward and held Yora back. Yora refused to retreat, fearing for my safety. Turning back with a faint smile, I whispered, "Trust me." As I approached, Indra cowered fearfully behind the matriarch. I walked past her and bowed respectfully before the matriarch. "Please reconsider, matriarch. These are savage beasts. When enraged, they could still maul people even through arrow volleys. Moreover, with beast folk so scarce these days, how could we replace so many losses? Without them, the women of this household wouldn't last long either." The matriarch squinted at me, trying to decipher my intentions but failing to grasp them. I shot Indra a sidelong glance. The orcs merely want an explanation. Just give them one. No need for such drastic measures. With my sister's marriage prospects at stake, any scandal could ruin her reputation. After a long deliberation, the matriarch relented. Self-preservation wins out in the end. Mutual destruction sounds bold in theory, but few have the nerve to follow through. The matriarch spared Indra, citing the deceased witness made the case unverifiable. She merely made her kneel in prayer for the fallen orcs. Considering the matter settled, Indra knelt all night, cursing my name through clenched teeth. When she saw me, she hissed, "Mark my words, this isn't over." I chuckled, "Oh, this isn't over by a long shot. For the deaths of my wolf kin, neither you nor your mother shall be spared." But karma works in mysterious ways. Before I could lift a finger, Indra met with misfortune. 11. After Gideon's death, the matriarch selected new beastmen for Indra, yet to her dismay, every one of them proved as unwilling as Yora to sustain Indra. Deprived of the beastman's vital essence, Indra's body grew weaker by the day. Worse still, the youngling she'd previously preyed upon now corroded her flesh like opium, their withheld sustenance triggering violent withdrawal. The suitors fled in terror at the sight of her disfigured face. Within days, Indra went from being the capital's greatest beauty to its most hideous woman, hiding in her chambers in shame. Her stepmother fared no better. Ever since she indulged Indra, she'd been plagued by nightly nightmares. She kept dreaming of orcs shapeshifting to tear her apart alive, and visions of dead orcs demanding her life in vengeance. Consulted multiple physicians to no avail. Her condition only worsened. One dawn, the matriarch woke to find an orc skull by her pillow, shrieking in hysterical terror. After exhausting all medical options, the desperate matriarch turned to me, her illegitimate daughter, as a last resort. She said I'd cured so many orcs, and since her illness was caused by them, I must know the remedy. I did know the cure, because I was the one who did it. The matriarch was stunned. She never expected me to voice it aloud. "Aren't you afraid I'll kill you?" I lifted her weakened form from the nightmare's grip and asked, "Would you dare gamble, mother?" Her shoulders trembled in my hands as she whispered, "Gamble on what? I wager you won't kill me. In fact, you'll make me the next matriarch. How dare you?" The first wife slammed the bed and rose, glaring at me with fury, but she was too frail. Her rage lasted but a moment before she collapsed back onto the bed. I took out a vial of medicine and placed 2 pills by her lips. "This is life-extending medicine for the women of our household. It works just like consuming an orc's vital essence." The matriarch eyed me with suspicion, unwilling to trust so easily. I swallowed 2 pills myself, held my breath briefly, then exhaled a wisp of white mist. In my past life, I spent years searching for an alternative to Ursish remedies. Tragically, Gideon mauled me to death just as my breakthrough was within reach. Now the life-extending elixir is perfected, enough to sustain every woman in the manor. Both human and beast hearts bend to my will. Even the matriarch's life hangs by my thread. Victory was never hers to claim. The matriarch knew her reign was over, gazing skyward in despair. "My household brims with talent, yet none could develop the cure. Only you succeeded." They weren't incapable, they simply wouldn't, with beastmen as convenient tools, who'd bother with medicine. After leaving the matriarch's chambers, I became the undisputed lady of the house. Yora was waiting for me at home. He said the medicine was good, but nothing compared to his vitality. Stroking the wolf tail wrapped around my waist, I chuckled, "You've worked hard. No more leaving bones in the first wife's chamber." 12. Indra lost her mind when she learned I'd become the matriarch. After disfiguring herself, she made her first public appearance by storming into my room and screaming insults at me. I was chatting with several aunts at the time, and her ghastly appearance sent them covering their eyes in horror. Indra pointed at my face and launched into a tirade, completely disregarding the presence of others. "You scheming usurper, using underhanded tricks to force my mother into submission. You're utterly unfit to be the matriarch." I simply smiled faintly at her insults, paying them no mind. Surprisingly, it was my stepmother who spoke up for me. "Indra, instead of opposing the mistress, why not beg her to heal your face?" Indra acted as if gravely insulted. "Me, a legitimate daughter, beg some lowborn concubine's child? Never." I set down the teacup and said coolly, "Don't beg me. Your face is your own doing. Beyond any cure, you'll likely wear this face for the rest of your life, till the day you die." Indra froze. She staggered toward me, and upon seeing her reflection in my eyes, completely lost her mind, flailing wildly and babbling nonsense. I sidestepped her attack and summoned the house servants. "The young mistress has gone mad. Take her back to her quarters. She's not to leave without my orders." Indra was carried away by force, her maniacal laughter echoing through the entire estate. Later, I freed all the beast folk in the household, placing no restrictions on their comings and goings. Most beastfolk have returned to the wilderness, while a small number with existing owners chose to remain. Take Yora for instance. Lately he's been unusually protective, shadowing my every move without fail. When asked why, he claimed not to know, only that I carried some peculiar scent. I laughed at him for making a mountain out of a molehill, until the day dizziness and nausea hit me. Then I realized a wolf's nose never lies. "I'm pregnant." Yora froze in shock when he finally snapped out of it. His first question was, will my lady bear a human child, or a wolf cub? I teased him, still calling me my lady. Are we? Yora froze suddenly, a faint blush coloring his stern features. And my lady. I planted a big smooch right on the wolf's snout. Heh, who knew werewolves could be this adorable when flustered? 10 months later, I gave birth to a human baby, a little girl. She looks just like any normal child. A beautiful little girl, but her cries were something else, howling like a wolf. Loud enough to summon every dog within 100 miles, Yora named her Syra. May she grow broad-minded and upright, with soaring ambitions, to one day become the matriarch of our family, just like me. All I wish is for her to grow up safe and sound in good health. The heavens seemed to hear my plea and gave me a wonderful surprise. Syra's constitution is far stronger than mine was as a child. She started crawling at just 3 months old, moving with wolf-like agility at just 6 months old. She could topple heavy objects, inheriting her father's Herculean strength, yet Syra possessed remarkable human intelligence as well. She called Mama at 9 months, recited poems by age 1, and carried herself like a little adult by 2. Syra became the only woman in the household who didn't need medication to sustain her life. A bold idea suddenly struck me. Perhaps a child born from the union of human and orc could break our clan's ancient curse. This theory found proof in my aunt's own experience. She confessed that she once bore a child with her family's old hound, but with strict family rules at the time and her being unmarried, she hid the child to protect her reputation. The child is alive and well to this day. I found several other women with similar experiences, and discovered that human orc offspring inherit the best traits of both, but bound by family traditions. None dared speak of it. Family traditions can be broken if it means freeing future generations from suffering. Perhaps this was nature's gift all along. The cure was right before us, yet we chose destruction. I rewrote our family laws, transforming beastfolk human pacts into marriages, and our lineage's weakness vanished. 14. The year Syra turned 3, I took her to the mountain cave. The cave has now become the ancestral home of the wolf clan, with Yora's lineage stretching back 3 more generations. Syra became the alpha of the pack's pups, often leading the cubs on wild runs across the mountains. Behind the cave lies the burial ground we've built for our fallen kin. The smallest one belongs to Caden. I held Syra close and said, "This is your grandnephew. When you grow up, you must protect him and never let anyone bully him." Syra stared at the gravestone for a long time before turning to me with a solemn promise. "Don't worry, Mother. Syra will never let anyone harm my wolf cubs and their descendants." Gazing at the mountainside dotted with tombstones, I smiled with quiet contentment. I promised my family would get you out, and I never go back on my word. Side story, Yora's perspective. I'm an orc, from birth. I was destined to be sacrificial fodder. Humans are selfish and cruel. They trade our lives for their own survival without hesitation. I'll never forget how Indra dashed my brother to his death, then kicked his body aside like worthless weeds. Yet I also remember that girl who buried my brother beneath a tree and prayed for him after the crowd dispersed. She was the family's illegitimate daughter, Rhea, the very patron we beastmen are bound to serve. Had I stayed by her side, that cunning fox would never have killed her. With Rhea's death, all my hopes perished too. How vile. They even slandered her, claiming she died in disgrace with beastmen, tarnishing her name with such cruelty. I carried Rhea's body to the back mountains and laid her to rest with my kin. May she be reborn free from clan ties in her next life, blessed with peace and joy. And so, I formed a blood pact with Gideon. I turned and saw the beastfolk of the manor standing there. They said the second young miss had saved their lives, so they came to see her off. See, Rhea. Even the orcs remember your kindness. We gathered around her under the bright moon, expressing our gratitude. Suddenly, the moonlight grew blinding, lulling us into drowsiness. When I opened my eyes again, I heard a voice. "Want to trade?" Rhea stood right before me, so vividly alive, yet her gaze remained fixed on that damn fox, never sparing me a single glance. I felt inexplicably nervous, fearing she'd repeat past mistakes. Until she said, "Switch." My anxious heart finally settled. No take-backs. "Little sister, forgot to mention this werewolf looks strong but he's all bark and no bite, utterly useless in bed." Rhea finally glanced my way. Those were eyes brimming with kindness. "One day, I'll make those eyes see only me." This orc, master, don't trust her. I'm terrifyingly strong. Story 2. In the apocalypse, the delicate and innocent girl showed great kindness and took in many people who were bitten by zombies, forcing me to treat them. However, when I saved her before my supernatural power was almost exhausted, I reminded her, people's hearts are sinister, and you have to be on guard. But the delicate and innocent girl accused me with tears in her eyes and a loud voice. "Elise, you're so selfish. Not only do you refuse to treat them, but you also smear others." I was pushed out of the window by the enraged crowd and was torn apart and eaten by countless zombies. The delicate and innocent girl caught the eye of Carson, the future overlord of the base. with her kind persona. Later, I found out that Carson had always been among the group of people I treated. I was just a stepping stone for the delicate and innocent girl to show herself off and get close to Carson. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the time when the delicate and innocent girl came to me. 1. Elise, many people outside have been bitten by zombies, and I want to save them. The soft and tender voice rang in my ears along with the roars of the zombies. The next second, I suddenly opened my eyes. Esther had snow-white skin. She raised her little tear-stained face, glanced at me, and prepared to open the door. The pain of being torn apart by the zombies seemed to still be there, but my skin and limbs were intact. I realized that I had been reborn. Esther and I were both postgraduate classmates and roommates. On the day the apocalypse arrived, I awakened my healing supernatural power, after she was bitten by another roommate who had turned into a zombie. I used my supernatural power to save her. In the previous life, she went with me to look for food and happened to come across a group of people hiding from the zombies. I quickly pulled her and hid on the 3rd floor of the cafeteria, but Esther showed excessive kindness. She opened the door and let that group of people who were bitten by zombies in. She begged me to save them at all costs. In the apocalypse, the most unpredictable thing is people's hearts. Esther was so rash to let people in like this and ask me to treat them. I thought she was just too innocent and didn't understand how sinister people's hearts could be. Esther, my supernatural power is not inexhaustible. Unexpectedly, after Esther directly let the people in, she turned around and knelt on the ground to beg me, Elise, please save them. I know you don't like to meddle in other people's business, but all you'll lose is your supernatural power, while they'll lose their lives. They all stared at me with red eyes, too angry to speak out. Although they were covered in blood, it seemed that if they were given a little more strength, they would rush forward and bite me to death. Before, I had told Elise that if my supernatural power was exhausted, I would explode and die, but Esther still pleaded with me in front of so many people. I frowned and told her to get up, but she remained kneeling on the ground. Even more, Esther started kowtowing to me. The thumping sound made the crowd even more indignant towards me. Miss Esther, don't beg her. What a selfish person. I forcefully pulled her up. Esther let out a cry and fell to the ground. Several of the injured young men rushed forward to help her up. With angry eyes, they said, "It's okay if you don't want to save them, but is it necessary to be so harsh?" I looked at Esther at a loss, but she turned her head away, wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes, and said softly, "Don't be like this. Elise didn't do it on purpose." I thought I had hurt Esther, and I felt even more guilty. In the end, I agreed to Esther's request and cured them all. However, each of them only thanked Esther for saving their lives. 2. Little benefactor, it's all thanks to you. If it weren't for you, our family of 3 would have died long ago. Thank you, Miss Esther. You're really a kind-hearted person. The sunlight shone on her quivering eyelashes, matching her delicate and innocent face. There was a kind of holy beauty. The crowd respected her greatly, but instead, they hated my indifference. I don't know who spread the word about my healing supernatural power, and more people came to me for treatment. Esther's reputation for kindness also grew, but I fainted several times due to overusing my supernatural power. Even so, those people who I had treated before gossiped behind my back. I think Elise just doesn't want to treat others on purpose, so she's pretending to faint. I've seen it a long time ago. This person is really bad and can't be compared with the little benefactor. These people never thought that Esther just talked the talk, and it was actually me who really saved them. I told Esther about my plan to take her and sneak away. She didn't refuse. However, that night, Esther directly grabbed my hand with tears in her eyes and said, "Elise, you're so selfish. Not only do you refuse to treat others, but you also smear them. I won't go with you." She accused me in a voice that everyone could hear. Her righteous appearance made the resentment the crowd had towards me over these days explode. I was pushed out of the window by the enraged crowd. Below were all zombies with rotting bodies, roaring continuously. The moment my body was torn apart, I saw Esther leaning out of the window and smiling at me. After I died, I became a wisp of a ghost and learned the truth. It turned out that Esther wanted to attract Carson, the big shot from the capital circle and the future overlord of the base, with her kind persona, just because my supernatural power was too dazzling, so she wanted to use me first and then get rid of me. I was completely unaware that Carson had always been among the group of people who were let in, and I was just a stepping stone for Esther to show herself off and get close to Carson. 3. Esther was getting closer to the doorknob while looking outside through the gaps between the stacked seats. I knew she was looking through the glass window to confirm Carson's position. My eyes narrowed slightly. I opened the door one step ahead of Esther and let Carson and several others squeeze in. Suddenly, The empty room became a bit crowded. Immediately, the sounds of zombies hitting the door and their nails scratching the door came from outside. It took a while for the sounds behind the door to gradually fade away. The people who came in thanked me one after another. Esther was stunned for a few seconds and quickly blocked in front of me, cutting off my interaction with the others. There were a few layers of dust on her snow-white little face, but it didn't reduce her beauty. Her red and sniffled nose made her look a bit more playful and cute. Esther tipped my hand and said, "Elise, I know you think they're troublesome and don't want to waste your supernatural power to save them, but they're living people." As soon as she said this, the people who had just been grateful to me immediately changed their expressions. Some people even snorted coldly and said, "If you don't want to save them, then don't. I'm not begging you." Carson's gaze was fixed on me. Cold and stern, I sneered in my heart but pretended to be aggrieved and said, "Esther, why are you saying this? You know that after treating your wound from the zombie bite, more than half of my supernatural power was consumed, and I need time to recover." Esther bit her lower lip and hid her unwillingness. "Elise, I was in a hurry and forgot. Don't blame me." I stopped looking at her and instead said to the dozen or so people in front of me, "I will find a way to treat everyone. But every time I treat one person, I have to take a break to recover my energy, otherwise, I won't be able to treat the next person, so the best way is to treat you in the order of the severity of your wounds, from light to moderate to severe." Some people were holding children, and some were supporting their elderly relatives. After hearing my words, the anger in their eyes turned into surprise. They were the ones with the most serious injuries. Carson was a big shot from the capital circle. The 5 or 6 bodyguards around him, including himself, were only slightly injured. Being treated last meant a higher probability of being turned into a zombie. Carson's face darkened a bit. Esther wanted to say something more, but I had already turned around and ignored her anxious gaze. In the previous life, I treated whoever Esther asked me to. The first person I treated was Carson, and I didn't pay any attention to the condition of everyone's wounds at all. This was also the reason why some people blamed me for the pain of losing their relatives. Given a chance to live again, I won't be a tool in Esther's hands. Instead, I'll be a sharp knife stabbing towards her. The person with the most serious wound turned out to be a young man lying on the ground with a pale lip corner and excessive blood loss. I remembered that in the previous life, this person didn't even last an hour after turning into a zombie. He was directly shot in the head by the bodyguards brought by Carson. When I helped this person up, there was some movement from Carson's side. "Wait." Carson covered the wound on his left hand and came up to me. "I'm from the capital city. As long as you save me first, I'll escort you to the rescue base later." When Esther heard the words rescue base, her eyes immediately lit up. Then, a look of jealousy flashed in her eyes as she looked at me. She tugged at my clothes and whispered to persuade me, "Elise, why don't you save Carson first? He can take us to the rescue base." I shook off her hand. "Esther, why have you become like this? Why do you want me to save Carson first and ignore the others? Just because he comes from a big family in the capital city, does having money and power mean you can do whatever you want?" For the sound I made attracted everyone's attention. "Yeah. Why should he be saved first? It's the apocalypse. And money and power are nothing. What a selfish young girl. This girl looks clean and pure on the outside, but she actually has so many schemes in her heart. I bet she has a crush on this pretty boy. Neither of them is a good person." Facing the crowds pointing and gossiping, Esther's face turned pale in an instant. Carson's face also turned red and then pale. I pushed them aside. "Get out of the way. Don't disturb me while I'm saving people. If you delay my treatment, you're delaying the time of the remaining people and your own time." Carson's face twitched. Several people immediately surrounded Carson and Esther. They glared at them angrily. "Don't you delay our benefactor from treating us. If you can't wait, treat yourselves." Sure enough, people are selfish. They only cry out in pain when the knife cuts into their own flesh. Once it involves their own interests, they fall apart immediately. I said calmly to Carson, who was pointing a gun at me, "If you shoot me, we'll all die together." Carson glared at me but had to return to his original position. I treated the young man and then took a break for a while before starting to treat the others. Except for the first person, I didn't use my supernatural power to replenish the physical strength of the other people. In the previous life, after removing the virus from their bodies and repairing their wounds, I also provided them with energy. This gave them the ability to protect themselves to some extent in the apocalypse. However, in the end, they killed me and blamed everything on me. When it was Carson's turn, several of the bodyguards he brought with him had already turned into zombies. They were locked in another room by the uncles and aunts in the crowd. Carson's face was completely pale, and strange black lines extended from the injured arm to his chest and neck. and they gradually eroded his face. I proposed that amputation was necessary before treatment. Carson directly rushed towards me and tried to strangle my neck with his remaining strength. Say that again and see. A sneer played on my lips. Do you want to live or keep your arm? You make the choice. Esther's eyes widened. Elise, you just need to treat him a few more times. Just like you saved me before. Why do you want to amputate his arm? I've said it before, after saving so many people. I don't have enough rest time to recover my supernatural power. Tears streamed down Esther's face, as if it were her arm that was going to be cut off. There must be another way, right? Elise, you can't be so selfish. Carson glanced at her again with his pale face. That glance seemed full of admiration. Me, selfish, I sneered. Well, there is a way. I used too much supernatural power when I saved you before. But I can absorb it back to treat Carson. But the consequence is that the virus in your body will relapse, and you'll turn into a zombie. Are you willing? Esther's face turned deathly pale. She opened her mouth but couldn't make any sound, like a wild duck with its neck choked. Carson's gaze towards her gradually turned cold. At this moment, there was another cry for help from outside the door. I felt a chill in my heart. Strange, according to the previous life. No one would knock on the door at this time. Esther avoided Carson's gaze. I'll go and open the door. The person who came was our senior fellow apprentice, Conrad. On the surface, he was very kind to both me and Esther, but he had a different feeling for Esther. In the previous life, although he defended me several times when he saw me being framed, but Conrad thought Esther was innocent and naive. There must be some misunderstanding between us. On the day I was thrown out of the window, he just looked at me with regret. Later, Conrad and Esther went to Carson's base together. On the day the base was attacked by a zombie horde, he entrusted Esther to Carson's care and chose to sacrifice himself. I didn't expect that he was also reborn. Senior brother, Esther wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and looked aggrieved. She told him about my selfish deeds. Conrad looked at me and his face became a bit solemn. He pulled me to the corner. Actually, after being reborn, I'm very glad to see you and Esther. I was startled at first. The next second, his words made me freeze in place. But Elise, I don't understand why you have so much resentment and why your heart is so narrow. Even if Esther did something to let you down in the previous life, this life is a new beginning. Why can't you try to trust others? 5. So, you want Esther to kill me again? I looked at him quietly, my fists clenched. Conrad, you say I'm narrow-minded and full of resentment. But you haven't tasted the feeling of being wronged. Have you ever experienced a feeling where someone clearly asks you for help, and you save her, but in the end, she tells others that I saved her with ulterior motives? In the previous life, at the last moment when I was thrown out of the window by the crowd, I angrily scolded Esther for her ingratitude, but she shrank behind Conrad and Carson, with tears in her eyes. She seemed to be showing helplessness and sadness. Elise, you saved me just to push me out at a critical moment to block the zombies for you. Scenes from the previous life flashed through my mind, and I couldn't help but raise my voice. Conrad was stunned for a few seconds and then avoided my gaze. He adjusted his glasses on the bridge of his nose. Don't worry, Elise, you know that I value fairness the most, whether it's you or... Will you shut up already? Before Conrad could finish his sentence, he was punched in the face. His glasses were knocked flying, and his fairly fair face immediately swelled up. He covered his face and looked at Carson's furious eyes in horror. Get lost. Stop being so hesitant. I'm almost dying. In this life, I didn't treat Carson in time, causing the virus to start invading Carson's brain cells. His corneas gradually turned white. He became violent. Esther stood there at a loss, constantly muttering, "Stop fighting. You guys, stop fighting." Unfortunately, Carson had long since lost his mind, and Conrad, after being punched, also fought back. The two who had gotten along harmoniously because of Esther in the previous life could only be in an opposing situation in this life. From the very beginning, I never thought of curing Carson so easily. Conrad's appearance helped me delay the timing of treating Carson. Carson was already injured, so he was quickly tied up by Conrad. Conrad knew very well that Carson was the future master of the base established by Carson's family. He suppressed his anger and said to me, "Elise, hurry up and save him." I spread my hands and said, as I said before, to save him, his arm needs to be amputated, but he doesn't agree. Seeing that Carson was unconscious, Esther bit her lower lip and said, "Elise, as long as we can save him, just do as you said." She looked at Conrad and sobbed, "Senior brother, do you think Carson will blame me when he wakes up?" Woo. Conrad looked at her with a pained expression and pulled her into his arms, saying, "Don't cry, don't be afraid. When he wakes up, you can say that I asked Elise to do it." Esther's eyes flickered. She wanted to shirk all the responsibility, but I wouldn't let her have her way. I bent down, picked up an axe on the ground, and handed it to Conrad. "Here. Since you guys agreed to do it, then you go and cut off his hand." Conrad's face looked ugly, and the way he looked at me seemed to be questioning me. Did it really have to be this ugly? I just smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Blood splashed. Amidst Carson's screams, Conrad wiped the blood off his face and threw away the axe. Is this okay now? I nodded and removed the virus from Carson's body. Due to excessive blood loss, he lost consciousness and fell into a coma directly. There were more and more zombies outside the window roaring and gnawing on the rotten flesh. I knew in my heart that a zombie horde was coming soon. 6. The walls and iron doors here wouldn't hold for long. Conrad obviously knew this, but he wasn't in a hurry. In the previous life, after I was pushed out by the crowd and fed to the zombies, the mercenaries of Carson's family would find this place and take Carson away. Along with him and Esther, there were a few coughs in my ears. The sick and weak young man I had treated before finally slowly woke up. The broken hair on his forehead almost covered his entire face, and the man revealed a pair of cold and desolate eyes. You saved me, that's right. I explained to him the supernatural power I possessed. I'm Cedric, Carson's older brother. The man propped himself up and surveyed the surrounding environment. Seeing Carson half lying in the corner, the coldness in his eyes became even more evident. At this moment, there was a rumbling sound outside. Conrad, half holding Esther who looked curious, looked out of the window. Military tanks were rolling over the zombies and driving towards them from not far away. There were also 2 military trucks following behind. Conrad was delighted and turned to look at me. Elise, if you can apologize to Esther and get along peacefully with her, how about I ask Carson to take you to the new base as well? Esther seemed to sense something and looked at me triumphantly. I opened my lips. Before I could speak, a burst of unrestrained laughter suddenly attracted everyone's attention. Cedric held his stomach and said, "Sorry, I couldn't help it because it's so funny." Conrad squinted his eyes and was about to speak. With a loud bang, the wall was directly smashed open by the tank. After the white smoke dissipated, several tall mercenaries in camouflage uniforms appeared in front of them. Conrad and Esther immediately supported the semi-conscious Carson and walked towards them. The leading man with a square face and dark skin didn't even glance at them. He directly bypassed them. He came in front of Cedric, knelt on one knee, and said, "Young master, we've come to pick you up." Conrad looked up in astonishment. Carson, who had half of his body leaning on Conrad, just woke up at that moment. The pain of losing his arm made him let out a howl. Cedric didn't even raise his eyes and stretched out his hand to me. "Let's go, my savior." Conrad's face looked bad. "What did you do?" "Elise," I spread my hands and looked innocent. "I didn't do anything, I just saved someone." Carson pushed Conrad away and stumbled up to the dark-skinned mercenary. "What are you doing?" "I'm not dead yet, I'm one of the candidates for the head of the family." But the mercenary didn't even look at him. "Second, young master, the head of the family said that the head of Carson's family doesn't need a cripple." Carson's face turned deathly pale, and he unbelievably pulled out his gun. But he was kicked by Cedric, and Cedric's right leg swept across his chin. The moment Carson was knocked to the ground, his nosebleed gushed out, his body kept twitching. Conrad beside him twitched his cheeks and couldn't say a word as he looked at me. It seemed that he just realized now. Carson, who had lost an arm, had long been abandoned by Carson's family. With the living Cedric here, no one would come to take Carson away. This was the reason why, in both the previous life and this life, Carson had desperately wanted to kill Cedric before this. In the previous life, after establishing the base, Carson held Esther in his arms and lamented. If it weren't for using his older brother Cedric to block the zombies, he wouldn't have been able to sit in the position of the head of the family. So, the first time I saw Cedric after being reborn, I recognized him. Cedric glanced indifferently at Carson on the ground and said, "Don't look, he's just a piece of trash." My wrist tightened, and he pulled my hand and walked outside. At this moment, Esther spread her arms and blocked in front of Cedric. You can't take her away. What are you going to do, you bad guy? Let go of Elise." 7. The mercenaries were holding guns, and no one else dared to step forward, except Esther. Her gaze was all fixed on Cedric. Her clear black and white eyes showed a very attractive stubbornness. She tried her best to keep her trembling body steady, giving people a sense of resolute vulnerability. "Esther," behind her, Conrad murmured in shock, but Esther didn't look back. Just when I thought Cedric would definitely stop, he directly sidestepped past her and indifferently spat out 2 words, "Ugly." Esther's body froze, and her face instantly turned pale. After just a few seconds, she ran down the stairs. At this time, Cedric and I had already gotten into the military truck. The way Esther looked at me was filled with suppressed hatred, but she still had a pitiful expression on her face. "Elise, don't leave me behind. Aren't I your best friend?" I ignored her. She gritted her teeth, and her facial features became distorted due to anxiety. "Take me with you." "I was wrong." "Okay, Esther." Conrad's face changed drastically behind her, and he reached out to grab Esther's hand, but as the car started, Esther no longer cared about anything else and reached out her hand towards me in the car. "Elise." As long as you're willing to take me with you, I won't compete with you anymore, please. I never thought of competing with anyone. I pried open her hand that was tightly gripping the edge of the truck. Esther's venomous gaze was fixed on me, and at this moment, the zombies gradually surrounded them. Conrad pulled Esther and fled in all directions. Countless zombies furiously rushed towards the big hole that had just been smashed open by the tank. People inside let out screams and scrambled to fall out of the window on the 3rd floor, just like dumplings being dropped. Then they were torn apart and bitten by the zombies with open mouths downstairs, covered in blood, just like what happened to me in the previous life. Elise, I won't let you go even if I die. Esther's voice was gradually drowned out by the sound of the truck's engine. The car drove for several days and nights, and then they came to a large ship. The base of Carson's family was actually on a small island, compared to the base Carson established on the mountain in the previous life. This one was safer. After that, Cedric established a laboratory on the island. I used my supernatural power to treat Cedric's people, and he could provide me with protection. Cedric and I could be said to have a mutually beneficial relationship. The peaceful days passed by in a flash, but I didn't expect that. One day, 2 months later, I saw Esther again. 8. Cedric's base was easy to defend but difficult to attack. What's more, the zombies couldn't swim. But the beginning of everything often starts with the internal collapse. The guards protecting the people on the island were basically the bodyguards Cedric brought from Carson's family and the mercenaries recruited later. Overnight, the guards on the outer perimeter all mutated into zombies. There was blood flying everywhere, and the zombies were crawling. The peaceful island was filled with wailing sounds, and people were fleeing in all directions. When Cedric found me, his face was solemn. Someone released the zombie virus on the island. Before, Cedric had told me that the virus that swept across all of humanity came from the biochemical weapons of Country A, but due to the entanglement of multiple interests, the virus leaked. That's why the current tragic situation occurred. I instantly understood what Cedric meant. Someone wanted to destroy the entire base of Carson's family. In less than 4 hours, almost half of the people lost their lives to the zombies, and the other half were bitten and infected. In the end, Cedric left the island in a hurry with dozens of people. The former paradise on Earth had now become a living hell. After discussing with Cedric, we planned to take refuge in the nearest base nearby. After passing through a wheat field, more than a dozen men with guns surrounded our group. At the moment, Cedric only had 2 bodyguards by his side, and the rest of the people were either old, weak, sick, or disabled. We were taken to an abandoned prison. Long time no see. Elise, you didn't expect me to still be alive, did you? Esther still had snow-white skin and red lips, spotless, like a pure little white flower. Behind her was Conrad. He had lost one eye, and the other eye had a gloomy look. Carson wasn't with them. He was probably dead. Seeing the man holding Esther, I roughly guessed how she had escaped the zombie horde. It's you? Cedric frowned. The man was Damien, the previous rival of Carson's family in the capital city. A scar at the corner of his eye spoiled his fairly handsome face. He took a puff of his cigarette and flicked the cigarette butt in his hand. It passed by Cedric's cheek and fell to the ground. There was disdain in the man's eyes. Cedric, after going around in circles, you still ended up in my hands. I guess right. The zombie virus was spread on the island by the pigeons trained by Damien. In the eyes of someone like Damien, in the same area, there was no need for 2 rescue bases. Most of the survivors were attracted by Cedric's base. It was not only safe but also self-sufficient, and the remaining people, including gangsters and killers, gradually became the main members of Damien's base. They killed, looted, and committed all sorts of atrocities, and they happened to have supernatural powers. Therefore, they formed a powerful force. Cedric and I, along with the others, were locked in a dark and small room. As the sky gradually darkened, through the iron bars, Damien's people were feasting and drinking. Several children had been hungry for 2 days and were swallowing their saliva. A few fierce-looking men laughed heartily and dragged out several relatively young women from the room. They tore at the women's clothes in front of everyone, and started doing that kind of thing. The women's screams and the men's curses mixed together. I said calmly, Esther, to take revenge on me, you're involving innocent people. Are you still a human being? As soon as I finished speaking, the woman emerged from the corner. What are you talking about, Elise? How could I take revenge on you? You're my best friend. Esther wiped the almost non-existent tears from the corner of her eyes and murmured, sometimes I really admire you. I sighed. You can pretend for 24 hours straight, and you can lie without changing your expression. Even a capybara isn't as calm as you. Cedric couldn't help but laugh. Esther's expression finally couldn't be maintained, and Conrad behind her squinted his eyes slightly. The next second, a sharp pain hit my chest. When I came to my senses, I had already fallen heavily to the ground, my cheek stung, and it was scratched by nails. Esther lifted my face. Elise, if you beg me now, I can still ask Damien to spare your life. 9. Cedric wanted to move, but he was held down by others. My teeth were a bit loose, and my mouth was full of the taste of rust. I spat out a mouthful of blood and looked up at Conrad. You look much better as a lackey than as a senior brother. Sharp-tongued, Conrad snorted coldly. Esther. Do you think you can go far by relying on men every time? I looked at her while covering my chest. Esther looked at me as if I were something dirty, let go of my hand, and said coldly, take her away, the leader wants to see her. I was taken in front of Damien. There were only the two of us in the room. Damien looked me up and down. You look ordinary from a distance, and even more ordinary up close. I really don't understand why Cedric chose you instead of Esther. He smiled and stuck out his tongue to press against his teeth. His eyes were full of malicious disdain. Equivalent exchange, I said. Cedric and I have always had a relationship based on the exchange of value. I provide my supernatural power, and he provides help, instead of being like Esther, who sells her body. When he heard Esther's name, Damien's face darkened. In the blink of an eye, he had taken out a gun and shot me in the leg. A searing pain spread throughout my body. I couldn't help but cover my leg and wail, fine, let me see how you treat yourself. The man bent down and squatted in front of me, enjoying my painful expression. You also have supernatural powers. No, something was wrong. How could a whole team of people have supernatural powers? Ever since I was captured, I had thought that Damien's people were strange. Even Conrad, who had just attacked me, had much stronger combat power. You mean this? Damien took out a stone. Don't underestimate it. It can absorb other people's supernatural powers and transfer them to another person. Do you think Cedric will still think you're valuable if I take the supernatural power from you and give it to Esther? He looked at me like I was an ant. Esther is really something. Instead of using other supernatural powers, she insisted that I take your supernatural power. When he mentioned Esther, a trace of doting flashed in Damien's eyes. A chill rose from the soles of my feet and rushed up my spine all at once. So that's it. No wonder all of Damien's subordinates had supernatural powers. The supernatural powers of these people were all taken from others. He smiled faintly at me and gradually brought the stone closer to my forehead. A powerful suction force seemed to be pulling the supernatural power out of my body. A feeling of dizziness came over me, and I felt the rapid loss of my supernatural power. I gritted my teeth, pulled out the sharp chopsticks that I had sharpened earlier from my sleeve, and stabbed them into Damien's chest. The man's body froze. He unbelievably coughed up a mouthful of blood and covered his chest. I had secretly picked up those chopsticks when Damien's subordinates were eating. I didn't expect them to come in handy here. I pressed the stone against Damien's forehead. I'm taking your supernatural power. Before he completely died, I obtained Damien's ability of instantaneous movement, then I cured the wound on my leg. Before leaving, I glanced at Damien on the ground. His eyes were open, and he had no breath left. In the corridor after opening the door, I met Conrad. I didn't expect you to be able to escape. Conrad covered his lost left eye and said, Elise, for the sake of our past relationship, if you dig out one of your eyes and break one of your hands, Esther and I will forgive you. 10. I couldn't help but sneer. Conrad, your superior tone is disgusting. It's bad enough that you can't distinguish right from wrong, and you're still stubbornly persisting in your own way. I flashed in front of him and kicked out. Conrad was so scared by me that he took a few steps back. After absorbing Damien's supernatural power, I clearly felt that my combat power had increased. Conrad looked at me warily. Elise, give up. I know you fell out with Esther because of me, but I won't like you. The only person I love is Esther. It's really unnecessary for you to harm Esther out of your jealousy. I was stunned for a moment and couldn't help laughing out loud. Conrad, is that what Esther told you? That I like you? This is probably the funniest joke I've ever heard. Conrad swung the knife in his hand at me. If it weren't for that, I can't think of a reason why you're targeting Esther. I dodged his attack and shot at the back of his hand. The knife fell to the ground, and Conrad covered his bloody hand. I dislocated the wrist of his other hand. You're wrong. I've never liked you. I only regarded you as my brother, but you've really disappointed me. I raised my hand. The bullet hit Conrad in the chest. The moment he fell, Esther's figure flashed on one side of the corridor. Esther. Conrad reached out his hand, trying to grab Esther. She ignored Conrad, who was struggling, and looked at him with contempt. She clicked her tongue and said, Useless thing, neither of you can even deal with a woman. Conrad widened his eyes and looked at the woman in front of him in astonishment, the junior schoolmate he had loved for 3 years, but she abandoned him at the last moment. Esther didn't even glance at him and turned to run towards the door on the other side. I squatted down. Senior brother, is this what you've been chasing after? It's both disgusting and dirty. As soon as I finished speaking, Conrad stopped breathing with unwillingness. Images of getting along with him in the past flashed through my mind. In the previous life, I always regarded Conrad as a trusted elder brother. Now, the elder brother who helped me stay up all night to do experimental data and carried me to the hospital when I was sick had completely died in my heart in this life. I closed his eyes and walked outside. On the way, I met several guards and killed them all, anyway. These hooligans had done a lot of heinous things following Damien on a daily basis. After getting the key, I released Cedric and the others. On the other hand, Esther came with a zombie army, leaning against the railing on the second floor. She looked at the zombies pouncing towards us and smiled faintly. Elise, this is the consequence of going against me. 11. There were 3 zombies surrounding me, and there were 4 around Cedric. The 2 personal bodyguards were both injured. When the others saw the situation, they quickly locked the door they had just come through. The iron fence opened automatically, and there were more and more zombies. Esther hooked her finger at Cedric. If you help me kill Elise, I'll tell you the secret of the zombie virus. What do you think? Or if you kill Elise, I'll be your girlfriend. How about that? Cedric raised his hand and wiped the blood off his face. Ugly people make more trouble. Esther slapped the railing angrily. And her face twisted. Why do you reject me again and again? What's so good about Elise? With a creak, accompanied by Esther's scream, the railing broke. Her whole body was hanging in midair. Some zombies were attracted by the sound and reached out towards Esther's body, which was half hanging in the air. Save me, please. At this time, I found the control room inside. I pressed the button for the main gate. The iron door cut off the zombies' advance. There were still dozens of zombies left in the remaining room. Elise, please save me. I don't want to die. Please. Esther looked at me in a panic. We were the best classmates and friends. Don't you remember? Cedric glanced at her with contempt and then turned to ask me, is she suffering from schizophrenia? One moment she wants to kill you, and the next moment when something happens to herself, she asks you to save her. Is she an idiot? I said, in a life and death situation. To save her life, she just doesn't care about her dignity anymore. Elise, don't be so heartless. Here, Esther's hand gradually slipped down. The zombies below had already touched her shoes. Esther desperately retracted her feet upwards, and the iron fence creaked. Cedric and I, along with a few others, climbed up to the second floor. Her eyes sparkled with surprise, and she reached out her hand to me. Elise, are you here to save me? Before she could finish speaking, a zombie with a swaying head bit into her calf. It tore off the flesh along with the fascia, and blood spattered. The scene was bloody. Esther let out a scream. In the moment of struggling, she fell into the group of zombies along with the railing. Her throat was bitten through by the zombies. On the day the apocalypse arrived, I awakened my healing supernatural power. Then I used my teleportation ability to attract the zombies. And Cedric led the people who were still alive to another escape route in the prison. Everyone got out alive. Cedric and I sat in the wheat field to rest, looking at the prison surrounded by flames not far away. I saw Cedric smile for the first time. I asked a question that I had always wanted to know out of curiosity. Cedric, we've known each other for a while. I'm really curious about what your supernatural power is. Cedric smiled indifferently. Time regression. He told me that he had used this ability to regress time 3 times. The last time he saved himself and a girl. My fingers resting on my knees trembled slightly. Was that girl me? Cedric nodded. Let's go. We're going to find a new base. I followed his gaze and saw a red dot on the map. That was the location of the Qinghai Tibet Plateau.